Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Vox and Jed Fight About It. And today we've got another solo episode. It is currently Friday, right after the Game Awards, so we're going to be talking a good amount about that. But last week, I figure we'll get right in, and since we've been making a habit of it, we'll talk about the previous guest that we had and how we felt about it. You here, Vox? How are you feeling about? How you feeling about?
Am I here? Of course I'm here.
You're the one recording it, but yeah.
I'm letting you finish your intro for once, and you're like, "Are you here? Please tell me you're here."
I got scared.
I would have gotten up in the middle of your intro. I'm sorry. I have a timer here. That was 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I was silent for 30 seconds, and you immediately were like, "Oh shit, I've been abandoned. It's over."
I've got that bad of abandonment issues now.
30 seconds, dude. Don't take a bathroom
30
break around
seconds,
this guy.
dude.
But we had A-Benz on last week. I feel like I should give a little disclaimer before we get into any topics that I am a little bit sick and like snivelly. I'm coming out the other side of it now, but this week has just been a mess for me. Where I've just had this like head cold that doesn't really like, it's just getting to the point where it gets me feverish to the point where like I'm sort of a little out of it, but pretty much all week, it's been one of those where, like, you ever get, like, a head cold, and it's just, like, mentally, I'm fine. Mentally and physically, I feel fine, but I just, like, I look like shit, and, like, my nose is running, and my throat is sore just a little bit.
Everything's a little sluggish.
Yeah, it's been, I've been in, like, that state for, like, a couple days now. But, yeah, that explains why I sound a little bit off this week, or if you hear any, like, sniveling or anything, that's why. I'll try to mute for it. But
groveling and
pleading, I'm gonna be like groveling and crying and spitting and sputtering and shit. But no, A-Benz. A-Benz was good. I liked A-Benz. I enjoyed having A-Benz on the show. We had a very good conversation about content creation, which is most of what this show is about at this point. Weirdly enough, it's become a show about making content, which is pretty odd. I'd say that's pretty odd and abnormal. For, I don't know where we started, but like I don't know. I could expect it. I could see it coming.
Yeah, but like from where we started, I don't know. It's less of Vox and Jed fight about it because that was the initial idea, was that we were gonna like we argue and that's what we do, and sometimes we do, but like
we do argue on this show enough to. I feel like we argue just enough to warrant this title.
Yeah,
I feel like we argue like once every 2 episodes or so. I feel like we have a good disagreement about something that's like nice and playful and fucking, the whole 9 yards. We gotta get those numbers up, though. But A-Benz.
We do, yeah, we gotta fight. A-Benz, though, was a great time. He talked a lot about content, which was a little bit unfortunate on my end, because I was like, I wanted to have some input with it, but I felt like I didn't have very good input because you guys were talking about like editing and shit like way above my pay grade.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, you guys.
If there's anything last week while you, our dear listeners, were listening and you went, man, this episode is better for some reason. I can't place why I like this one more. It's because Jed isn't speaking. It's because one of us just shut the fuck up for a while. It's not even because of Jed specifically. It's just one of us shut up for a fucking while.
Yeah. I don't know. I talked about it last episode, but sometimes there are times where it's just better to be silent, even if you are one of the main hosts, because it's just like, it's better to not have any input than give bad input.
Yeah, but, and like ruin the flow of the thing. It's much better. It's much better to just hold your tongue and wait for your moment. But I think that's why a 3-man show can work really well. I think that's why guest episodes for us work really well, is because like with 3 people, if you're one of 3, you can kind of like, if you need to like sneeze or something, or like you need to mute for just a second, you can do that, and people usually won't notice because the other 2 can carry for like that 15 seconds or even a couple minutes in some cases just to get you by.
Yeah. However, I have found that with you and I'm able to find my gap in that because I know your speaking pattern so well that it's like, oh, this is a sentence that Vox is going to take a good long while for.
You idiot.
Sneeze. I can know
for
when
a sneeze.
to like.
Yeah, you've gotten up from your desk to grab another water or something while I've been speaking, and I wrapped like 1 minute of speaking and went, Jed, where'd you go? And you're like, I'm here, I swear. Like 30 seconds later that we've had to cut out.
I don't know if that's ever happened.
That's happened once. Has
that? That must have been early in the show. I don't remember it.
It's happened once bad enough that I've had to like cut a space. But it has happened multiple times where like I've gone, Jed, are you here? And you've just like given me nothing for a good 15 seconds and then went, I'm here.
I might have been fighting with my mute or something. I have no clue. But either way.
That or just a clear... I just usually take that as a clear sign that you are disinterested and couldn't give less of a fuck about what we're talking about and want us to move on immediately.
Yeah, fuck it. I'm just gonna shut down whenever I don't want to talk about a topic. I'm just gonna like dead silent shut down, kill the show.
No, what you mean like
great.
This?
Oh, that was painful. Oh, I didn't know. Oh, God. Oh, man. Vox?
No, we're still
Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
we're still... All right.
30 more seconds. Next 30 seconds are yours, pal.
Oh, God. This is painful. That, like, dead silence. I've gotten so used to, like, seeking out dead air to type down for, like, time codes that, like, just hearing the silence and watching the recording timer tick was just, like, nightmarish for me. That was like fucking heart attack.
Yeah, no, it's horrendous. It's genuinely so hard for me to hold my tongue
like
for
even
that
for
long.
the bit. Oh,
even
man.
for the bit, like intentionally just filling it with silence. Oh man. Speaking of silence, though, there was not a lot of silence last episode with Abens. There wasn't really a gap at all. It was one of those episodes, and I love this. This is really the mark of a good episode to me. Is when I look down at the recording timer when we hit start recording. And then I forget about it, and I look down what feels like maybe 10 minutes later, and I see that we're an hour deep. Yeah. That's how I know we've got a good one. That's how I know we have a good one every single time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, where you just get lost in it.
The time just flies. Last time we went over by a good bit.
Yeah.
We went like, I think the final cut of the episode was like 5 minutes over. I considered cutting something, but I was like, there's no good spot to cut. We're just leaving it.
And we even had to, like, wrap a conversation early to, like, call it. Like, we could have gone even further on the conversation, but we ended up,
probably could have reached 2.5 hours easy. Yeah. Like, no sweat.
Speaking of, like, edits and part of the show, on the Abens episode, I can't remember what happened, but in the moment, I was like, some technical issue fucked up on my end, and Abens' voice, like, fucked up, and I just typed in my notes, what the fuck? And put the time code down, and I sent it to Vox, and Vox was like, what is this? What am I supposed to edit here? This just says, what the fuck? There was nothing there.
It was just, what the fuck, question mark, and a time code. So I was like, okay, I'm expecting, like, Abens' Discord to, like, have glitched in a way that I just didn't notice in the moment.
Oh!
You know, or something like that. But then I go to the time code, and, like, I scrub around forward 5 minutes, backwards 5 minutes, I'm seeing nothing, and I go, what the fuck? What the fuck, Jed? And you went, it's a big fucking audio fuck up. Didn't you hear it? And I went, no, I didn't hear it. Unless you got this time code way off. And, like, I showed him the spot where it said, and he was like, no, that's the right spot. I guess it was just on my end, huh?
Yeah, I remember what it was. Discord had, like, freaked out, and it gave me the leave and join back noise at the exact same time. And I was like, okay, that's usually a group-wide Discord thing where it's like if somebody hears a disconnect and a join noise at the same time, everybody hears it. So I figured that would be what that was. It was not, thankfully. But
did you think we were just keeping the flow really well in that moment? Because usually, like, fucking would like completely hard stop any conversation. Oh, it probably was group-wide. I just considered I'm the only one in that group who had OBS open. I had OBS open.
You were mid-conversation. Yeah, you were mid-talking.
And I was mid-conversation. I was talking when it happened, and so I was able to keep the flow of the show. I just realized it was a Discord noise, and I have OBS open, which puts you in streamer mode for anybody unaware. By default, which so you like cuts all Discord like system sounds and just leaves the voice chat sounds in. So I just couldn't hear it. Yeah, no, okay.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah,
that does make sense. Awesome. We figured out what the fuck was on the episode. We figured out
what the fuck was a week late. I can't believe it. I'm glad we did.
Fantastic. But Abens is great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to talk about with Abens. I was really happy to have him on, and he's been really eager to be on. So I was really happy to finally get him scheduled in and penciled in. You know.
No, absolutely. Abens was a guest that like totally was like so down to be on the show. Like,
oh yeah,
and Abens is just kind of like that. If you go back and listen to his episode, he is just kind of like that, where like he's just down to be involved, down to help, down to make
just
it happen
a chill guy,
one way or the other. Just a chill guy making it work.
And Abens to be in like the chill guy dog outfit.
Do you not know?
What?
Do you not know that meme got like taken by like crypto bros?
Oh, damn it!
Ended up becoming like a fucking like a mascot for like a cryptocurrency that I think actually ended up getting fucking rug pulled. There's nothing.
I'm not surprised.
I tell you. No, but Abens is great. Abens is something good that's left. Abens is great.
Yeah.
Abens was great to have on the show. He was very eager, and he very quickly shot up to the top of my list of like people I wanted to have on, just because he was so eager to be on and so excited to join the show and be involved in this thing that we do. And so I was very happy to have him. I was very hyped to have Abens on the show. It was a good time, I think.
I don't think we talked about it much, but we had some like scheduling issues prior where you got stuck in like hella traffic, which we felt really bad about. But Abens was really chill about that as well. So like, all's well that ends well.
That. I didn't talk about that for a reason, Jed, because we've already talked about it on the show, that it's just become a trope at this point.
Yeah.
That sometimes these episodes just fall the fuck apart scheduling-wise, and there's just nothing we can do about it.
Yeah, you just have to like limp along, do your best. But other than Abens and the guest episode, yesterday was the Game Awards. I mentioned at the beginning of it. We ended up streaming it on your streaming your streaming platform.
My streaming platform, Voxel.tv. It's mine.
Yeah. It's yours, all yours.
The king of Twitch. They named it after me and everything.
Holy hell. No, yeah, but we were streaming on there. It was a good time. I think it was fairly underwhelming for the 10th anniversary, but I don't think it was the worst. It was definitely better than like I think it was like 2 years ago that we were like, "Oh, sweet Jesus Christ!"
Jesus Christ!
Oh
like, my
bored
God!
Out of our mind.
Stop!
What?
You get so far ahead of yourself because you're like, "Yeah, we streamed it on Twitch, and then it went great, and everything was really disappointing, and we thought we had a pretty good time. It was better than the last couple of years, but I think we had a pretty good time, even though the show was disappointing." And it's like, dude, slow down. I'm still on.
Sorry.
We were streaming the Game Awards, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You just have this like magical ability of like, imagine like you're on a bus and you're waiting for your stop, and your stop is coming up, and you hit the little button, but the bus speeds up past your stop, and it's like, and then past like the 3 or 4 next stops, it's like, dude, let me off, let me out of here,
brother, let me go. Yeah, I don't know. I get very like to the point, but yeah, you wanted to talk about streaming it, and if
I wanted to talk about streaming it
because
I was gonna stream it last year, right? I was gonna stream it year before last when I had like just started streaming again. I was gonna stream it year before last, and I picked it up, and I was like, I should do that, and then I was like, no, I've got this like group I'm gonna watch it with. Not all of them are cool with appearing on stream, and unless I just want to sit alone and react to the Game Awards with nobody watching, probably, then I like shouldn't stream it, just because nobody's gonna. Why would anybody watch my stream? Over like their favorite content creator's stream, or like the
official Game
main
Awards
stream, without some like asshole PNG in the corner talking shit the whole time. It turns out, I thought that up until last year when I was like, yeah, maybe, but nah, I'm still right. It still wouldn't be worth it. And then I thought about it again this year, and I was like, you know what? On a whim, I'll stream it. I don't have 3 streams this week. Ever since I dropped my schedule, I've been trying to keep 2 minimum streams a week. And I was just like, I only have 2 streams this week. I'd feel bad. This would be like the 2nd week in a row that I've done the minimum amount of streams. Like, I did the minimum last week. It would be fucked of me to do the minimum a second time. And so I opted to just do 3 streams in a row. I started my new Minecraft world for next year. My new solo world for next year. On stream, and I'm gonna like stream that throughout the year, and I think that could be fun, which is really funny because I started that in the same week that a podcast episode we did with Abens came out, where we were talking about how long form like content in Minecraft is not the future, and that's just not the way to go with projects.
Yeah. Well, at least you aren't gonna build with it. Is what you guys were saying was like.
I'm not building with it. This is just gonna
following.
become one of the things that I do on the side. But
yeah.
We streamed the Game Awards this year on a whim. I did anyway, and then I invited Jed to join me because I was like, me and Jed, we'll do it. And shockingly, it was one of my better streams this month, performance-wise.
Yeah.
Like, lots of people came through. I think the real cincher was that the chat was really active pretty much the whole time. And I think that really worked. I think that really worked in my favor. Because it turned out real nice. It turned out real nice. I had a lot of people who were sticking around to watch it from like my stream the entire way, and then I had some people who were just stopping through to say hi and see what I was thinking about things, you know. And we had a little game going the whole time, which was interesting between the two of us, where pre-stream we sat down individually and wrote down predictions for each category as to which nominee was going to win each Game Awards category. And each of those were worth 1 point. And that was as far as I had thought about the game. And then Jed was like, what if we do like general predictions too? Like, what if we do like things that are going to happen during the show that aren't necessarily an award? And then we make those also. And I was like, yeah, but those are worth 2 points. So like, cause those are broader, there's more likelihood that that's not going to work out. And we did a little point tally thing on the top of the screen. And it was a good time. It was a good time. I think it really added like some stakes to the night, I think.
Oh yeah.
And speaking of stakes, the stakes of that like little competition, that little friendly bet was either we decided it on the stream about halfway through what we were gonna do if we lost.
Because somebody asked what I would do if I lost.
And I was like,
well, damn.
I don't know what we do. And Jed was like, well, we should have something. And so Jed beset upon me that if I lost, I had to stream a music-based game. And I was like, okay, I can do a rhythm game. That's fine. And then I put on to Jed because he doesn't do any solo streams without me usually. And so it's like, all right, Jed, you gotta finish a game. You gotta play a game back to front on stream alone, a single player title. And he was like, oh God, okay. And he lost, so he has to do that. And we ran
by like a landslide.
By a landslide too. Well, no, I don't think you can call it a landslide if I was 2 points ahead of you pretty much the entire time.
You were 2 points ahead of me, and then by the end of it, you were like 6 because you got like the. What was the Twitter moment, by the way? You would one of yours was like there will be a moment that Twitter will talk about for weeks.
I didn't count that in my final total. I didn't count that in my final total. I only won by like 4 points, not 6. But
is that a thing?
There was a Twitter moment. We'll talk about that when we actually get to the Game Awards. But we're just talking about our stream right now, and we ran a poll. And we decided that Jed should play Portal 1 and 2 on stream, back to front.
Which is
just the
totally fine with me.
Campaigns, which is totally fine.
That was my like bitch boy easy one that I was doing because I had like Metal Gear 1, which would eventually turn into a series more than likely, and Wolfenstein: The New Order, which eventually would turn into a series more than likely. And then I was like, and Portal 1 and 2 if you want to go easy on me. And then like most of the people, even without Basil rigging it, it would have still gone to Portal 2. I did the math on it.
It still would
by like quite a few.
Because there were only 2 votes that weren't for Portal 2, and one of them was mine for Metal Gear. So I was like, I think Jed would have the most fun streaming this particular game. Because I think you would. I think you played Portal 1 and 2 enough times that like it's just gonna drive you mad a little bit commentary-wise.
It's coming on the time where I'll play through Portal 2 again, because I haven't done that in a few years now. It's been a couple years since I've done it back to front, so I was like, yeah, it's about time anyway, and I could stream it. So what I'm thinking is a marathon stream, where I do both games back to front.
Yeah, like 6-7 hours. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm aware. It'll be closer to 8 from what I was thinking. Yeah. Well, because like my Portal 1, I can beat Portal 1 in. I think my average now would probably be 45 minutes. Like since I've not been.
A pretty safe bet. 45 minutes is a pretty safe bet.
Because I think my best was like 22.
I don't know,
or something, or maybe I brought it down to a 19. I can't remember.
No, I think you were still, in like the early 20s. But we got into speedrunning it a while back, like a year or two ago. But you'd be shocked. I streamed that a few months. I streamed Portal 1 a few months after we were speedrunning it, and because I had been speedrunning it, I was like, yeah, this isn't going to be very interesting to look at gameplay wise, and it's a very short game to begin with. So I'm gonna try and go a little slower and talk about parts of this game that I really, really like. And I still kind of beat it in 45 minutes. Like, it was like, I think it was like 50 flat, and I was like intentionally slowing myself down to go like, I like the way that this chamber is shaped, you know? Or like, I like that dialogue line. I think that's a funny one, you know?
Yeah, and there are some parts that it's like, I still don't think I could do that without skipping it. Like, the chamber in Portal 1 where you have to, like, portal stand through the hallway instead of doing the, like, bouncing, what are those, kinetic balls? Yeah, Chamber 17. Like, I still think I don't think I could do that one without the skip anymore. I think I will have like forgotten at this point, and it's just like my brain is just like, yeah, this one's easier. Let's do it this way.
That's also a solution that just does not stick in my brain very easy.
Yeah.
Like, I know what it is when I get there. If I get there and I wait a few minutes, I can figure it out. Like, within like 3 to 4 portal placements. But like, you know, that definitely has become the default way that I do that over the years. That definitely has become like my default is just like, I'm just gonna go through the fucking hallway. You know, I'm just gonna
fucking portal stand. It's so dog shit easy.
Yeah, no, but long story short, you lost, and so you have to stream Portal 1 and 2. And if you're thinking of doing that in a marathon stream, you are welcome to it, my friend. You are absolutely welcome to it. You could get away with it in 3 streams of like 3 hours, 2 3-hour ones, and then like a 1-hour one for Portal 1.
I'll see how I'm feeling. It'll be like a maybe marathon. I'll definitely get from Portal 1 to Portal 2 at least.
You know what I think you could do? You know what I think you could do? Instead of I don't think it's worth doing a marathon if it's marathon ? Maybe I'll just decide to quit at some point.
Fair enough.
Like I feel like that's cowardly almost. But about the Portal thing, you should do the Portal Still Alive chambers with Portal 1. I don't know if you've ever done those.
Still Alive chambers? I don't
on the 360 they did. Okay, so this is gonna be kind of a long-winded story.
Okay.
So Portal releases, and then it releases on the Xbox, obviously via the Orange Box.
Orange Box.
That's the first time anybody played Portal. And a while later, of course, it gets a simultaneous PC release. But a while later, a modder goes in and makes Portal the Flash version, which is levels from a Flash game based on Portal.
Right.
It's just called Portal Flash. I'm sure
you've seen it before.
But then there was a thing of somebody adapting those chambers, and apparently somebody somewhere along the line at Valve looked at that and went, "I could make a nice DLC. Let's get this modder to just like kind of punch this up a little bit, and we'll include it exclusively for the Xbox 360 as like an Xbox Live Arcade downloadable." Of just like, here's this level pack that's roughly the same length as the amount of puzzles in Portal 1. And they're pretty good, honestly. They really are on par, I'd say. There are some times where you can definitely tell that, like, yeah, this was in a 2-dimensional game before it was in a 3-dimensional game, this particular puzzle. There's a lot of, like, long hallways. But I feel like you do Portal 1, and then you cap it with the Flash levels, with the Still Alive levels, because those are a complete campaign now via a mod that I guess I could link to you if you're interested. And then that'll give you something to spice it up, give you something to like pad out an extra like hour or 2 of Portal 1 content that's technically still official content.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And then maybe I'll do 3 streams where it's like the Portal 1 and the Still Alive chambers, and then get up to Old Aperture and Portal 2, and then finish
half
it off.
Of Portal 2, and then like the back half of Portal 2.
Yep, I think that's how I'll do it. I will definitely put out a tweet about it. It might be sometime this weekend. Maybe, I don't think so. I think I'm going to give myself a break because I've been like physically burning out.
But you'll think about it. You'll think. Who knows? That's what you'll do. You will think about it, and we'll get back to you on the show. You, the viewer.
Absolutely.
But the Game Awards are what happened for us last night. For you guys, a couple days ago, and you guys have had more time to simmer on it. I got a lot of thoughts about the Game Awards. This was the 10th TGAs. And for the 10th anniversary of this iteration of the show. It was, it was all right. I think they did pretty all right. I think it was better than average.
I thought it was pretty good.
Kind of says very little about the Game Awards, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It says very little about the Game Awards, in my opinion, that this one was above average for the Game Awards. I think there were a lot of highlights and a lot of lowlights. I think it was a real roller coaster of a show, real half and half. Real good with the bad type scenario. But before we actually get into the show itself, I think a good place to start is, how were we feeling before the Game Awards? Because I'll tell you how I was feeling. I wasn't feeling great about it. I was feeling like there was a rumor going around about how Half-Life 3 was going to get announced at the Game Awards. We obviously live in the future and could tell you that did not happen.
Yeah.
You know, and like there were a few other like rumors flying around about like, dude, there are some big announcements this year. Make sure you look out, you know? And from a bunch of random people, and I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's just gonna be another Game Awards, and you're hyping people up for nothing, man. I feel like we're hyping everybody up for nothing in this case, you know? And I think I was right to a good extent.
Yeah.
I think there were some big announcements. Which we'll get into, but I don't think anything nearly as... I think there was just like a misread by journalists who knew what was coming ahead of time, who said like big shit was coming. I think there was just like a misread about what casual audiences and the gaming public at large would really like consider a big announcement, like the biggest announcement of the year, you know? And what a games journalist who is like very like involved in the ins and outs of the industry and the interpersonal like studio to studio stuff would call a big announcement, you know, would sensationalize as a big announcement. But I think it was fine. I don't feel lied to, but I think it was fine. So how are you feeling the show and post the show?
Pre the show, I was feeling like this was going to be dog shit, and that fucking Statler and Waldorf were going to be the only good things about the show, and I was half right. That was half right.
You were half right.
They were great on the show, but otherwise, it was fairly disappointing. I think there were some pretty big announcements. There were a lot of announcements that were like, "Holy shit, really?" Like they were surprising, but they weren't like, holy shit, Half-Life 3 surprising.
Yeah, no.
How would I explain it? They were surprising, they weren't exciting, I guess I should say. I think that's the best way to put it.
All shock, no awe.
Yeah, pretty much. I have gotten for the show a list down of most of the announcements and then a couple of notable awards that from the show. But I think I think to start us off, the only announcement that I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's a big announcement, and it's at the top of my list, is Witcher 4 with Ciri as the lead. I think that was the only announcement that was like huge. Is the only thing that I would consider
on that. People are sleeping on that. Like I keep looking back and I go, like, even I forgot. I think it's because it's so front loaded in the show. Like it happened like as soon as the show started. That was one of the
instantly,
first big things that they revealed. So I think a lot of people either missed it or forgot about it like I did. But I saw somebody post about it today and I was like, oh yeah. Because like, that's a wild thing for everybody to just go, yeah, that happened.
Oh yeah, that's a huge announcement.
Like that's a massive announcement. People really like that character and people really like the Witcher like franchise. And so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see where they go with that. And I think people will be more hype about it. Because, like, okay, so, here's the thing about this. I'm slowly realizing how many people who play video games and would be excited about a lot of these announcements just don't watch the Game Awards because they have, like, the mostly correct perception that the Game Awards is a bunch of studio circle jerk nonsense where they advertise you, like, products and that's it. And then, like, big game wins and it's all rigged. And it's like, it's not necessarily rigged. I don't think it's rigged at all, but...
No.
You know, there is a good amount, actually, of studio circle jerk nonsense.
There is a solid amount of that, yeah.
They had some new studio circle jerk nonsense this time, which I want to go ahead and talk about. Where they had this, like, Game Changer award, and in the moment, I knew nothing about this, right? In the moment, I was hype about it, because I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a way to acknowledge, you know, people who are doing good and doing right by the gaming community at large, and this year they gave it to someone who they painted as like this up-and-comer, this like real nobody who saw injustice in the gaming industry and decided to start a foundation to make sure that like when all these layoffs were happening earlier this year and last year and the year before, that like when that happens, those people have a place to go and they can find a job and this and that.
Was that not what this is?
That's not who that guy is. He does do that. But you know what? You know where he gives those people a job? Tencent.
No.
He's a fucking director at Tencent.
Okay.
He's not some up and comer. He's a game director at Tencent who is just poaching talent based on like, oh yeah, give me this and give me that. And if you don't know, Tencent is actually kind of a little bit responsible for a lot of the layoffs that happened.
Yeah.
Like, pretty directly, because, you know, obviously, like, the stricture of, like, because Tencent is, you know, the company that owns pretty much anything that gets imported to the Chinese people. And the Chinese population is, like, the single biggest market in the world. So they determine, like, Tencent determines, will you be allowed to sell your product in the literal biggest market in the world or no?
Yeah.
I don't think I like your product. Fuck you. You know what? If you fire all your employees and cancel this game and make something different, then maybe. And then the studios go, oh yes, of course. Yes, we'll do that. No problem. And so, like, and that didn't happen a whole ton, but that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like,
yeah.
You know,
so it's partially their fault, and now he gets to like pat himself on the back a little bit.
Now like, Jeff Keighley gets to bring this guy up on stage in his like, guys, look, I'm just like you. I'm not wearing a suit. I'm wearing like the cheapest, shittiest like Zelda jacket you've ever seen in your life that you would expect Joe Blow YouTuber to walk out on stage wearing. You know?
Yeah.
And give him an award for what good work he's done by the gaming community. You know?
Yeah.
Which, honestly, when I think about it, that might also be why, like, if they're hiring a bunch of people who got laid off, that might be why we're getting, like, 17 billion Genshin Impact spin-offs. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, so on my list here, I've got it kind of in the middle. And there was a point in the show where we had seen, it was a trailer for a new Hoyoverse game, and then we had a Honkai Star Rail trailer, and then we had a Zenless Zone Zero trailer, and it got to the point where like we had seen like 5 or 6 different ads for like 3 of the same Hoyoverse games that all look the exact fucking same, and I got to this point where I was like, what the fuck are we doing?
No,
can we get away from it?
They don't look the exact same. Art style wise, they do look the exact same, but the difference maker is like, this one takes place in fantasy Earth, like medieval fantasy Earth, and then this one takes place with dinosaurs, and then this one is in
this
space.
One has a trade.
Like that's it. Those are the differences. Gonna be the same, pale ass, no melanin having characters wandering around in like the skimpiest outfits you've ever seen, with nothing, like wearing like the skimpiest outfits you ever seen, showing nothing. By the way, I have to admit, these motherfuckers have like nary a
give us
insight
nothing
in like any of them, and it's like, I'm not some pervert who's looking for that, but it's like, you'd figure if you're designing characters who are gonna like wear like skimpy outfits or whatever, or like wear outfits that accentuate their features, that you would give the character features to accentuate at all. Like this applies like mostly to their men, I feel, but like
like their women have like. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about talking about anime women's breasts, but the men wise, they're all very twinks. They're all
definitely very
one flavor of twink.
Yeah, they're very much like, our 3D modeling team knew how to make one whole guy, and we're kind of just living with that right now.
We're kind of coasting. Where's my big guy? Where's the big guy? Come on,
they have some
you gotta have a big
guys, but they're just like scaled up versions of the scrawny guys.
Like that's the thing, is that like, I don't know. I want like a big like wall of a guy. Like, come on,
give me a big wall of a guy, and I feel like at least they're not doing the traditional Japanese media thing. And I don't want to be white guy criticizes like foreign media for like an hour or anything, but at least they're not doing the thing where the options are rail thin or like fat, disgusting fucking slob with 17 billion hyper-realistic rolls and like the ugliest like Studio Ghibli ass grandmother face you've ever seen in your life, despite their age, you know? And she's like covered in like grease and pus and garbage and hair. And it's just like, because like that is usually the way they go. Stinky finger,
Dragon Ball. Oh man,
you fucking bacterium.
I looked up fucking Hoyoverse big guy. The only character that I'm seeing that's like at all a big guy is an anthropomorphic bear. I don't think that fucking counts, dude.
That doesn't
Come on.
count. Anthropomorphic characters
That doesn't
don't count.
He's got the right body shape, but that's a bear, dude.
Thin. You couldn't make a bear thin. That's the thing. Is like, you know, you've taken a character where there's literally no other way you can do that. You know.
Yeah, like that is a bear, dude. Make that guy, give him a human form. There you go. But no, we're sticking with like the palest white people. I'm genuinely serious. You could fucking color pick a majority of these Hoyoverse characters and get like an off-white eggshell color.
The most obnoxious people you know on Twitter have made color palettes of like, here's all the skin tone variants in every Hoyoverse game, and like genuinely like they get like darker than just like bright fucking like eye-searingly white, but like not much darker, you know. And even when that happens, like sometimes they like whitewash their own characters a little bit over time. Where it's just like, no, you're too dark. We have to clean that up.
We gotta roll that shit back, dude. Like, we can't have somebody who
this shit has to be like low-key racist, right?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's just a different cultural thing, but like, I don't know, dude.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't want to. Can we move on? What else got announced? What else got announced that you're happy about?
No more Hoyovers. What got announced that I'm happy about? I think I'll like rapid fire a few of these. Borderlands 4. I know you're not a big Borderlands guy. I thought it looked good.
They brought that speaking of stinky, greasy, fat, disgusting bastards, they brought Randy Pitchford out on stage.
Yeah.
And they had to, like, mop up after the son of a bitch. He's not that, like, fat or anything.
Why do you hate Randy Pitchford?
He is a nasty, no good little slime of a man, and I won't elaborate further. I don't want to. There is documentation out there about why Randy Pitchford is the worst man on the fucking planet.
Does this have to do with the Half-Life, like, Gearbox games?
Fucking goddamn it. That's part of it.
It does.
That's part of it, those sons of bitches. But no, it's I don't know. I have my qualms about Randy Pitchford, and they are the same qualms that, like, I'm sure most of our audience has with Randy Pitchford, or they're also just as confused as you and everybody else in chat was about my hatred of Randy Pitchford.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll circle around on this someday, but that's a big topic. That is a very large topic for me.
I'm gonna put that on my topics list for another week.
Borderlands 4.
I thought it looked good.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was a nice elaboration on the existing Borderlands art style. Well, like, because like the cinematic was like, I don't know about this lighting. I don't know about how realistic we're going with like the grass and shit. And then they cut to like actual gameplay, and it's like, there it is. That's Borderlands. Yeah,
that's the Borderlands style like with a little bit of a freshen up, and I dig it. I dig it. It looks a little bit less like aggressively like the biggest cell shading you've ever seen, but it's still there. It's still there, and it has its style. But yeah, I thought Borderlands was a good announcement, but I think that's all there is to say about it because we didn't see much about it other than Zane has a beard now. I think Zane always had a beard.
They showed a cinematic, and then like they showed like a minute-long cinematic, and then hard cut to part of a trailer that was literally like three or four segments of like 10 seconds worth of gameplay, like chopped together. And then Randy Pitchford's big fucking dumbass got out on stage and was like, Borderlands 4. We're really excited about Borderlands 4. Goodbye, everybody. And he, like, left a snail trail behind him as he left. It was fucking ridiculous. Anyway.
Big guy in
Is
in
this
Borderlands.
You a big guy?
No, okay, I just saw a photo.
I thought you were going to mention, like, oh yeah, speaking of greasy bastards, did you see this big fucker in the audience? I was like, whoa, Jed, where are we going?
No, what the fuck?
No, but big guy in
we're just getting a big guy Borderlands character. We're rolling back around to like
right,
Brick.
you were hype about it. You were hype about Borderlands big guy. I remember last night.
Because like in the past few games we had like what is his name? Salvatore or something?
Something like
the Gunzerker guy from Borderlands 2, where he's like a short, stout guy. But as a big guy myself, I like big, tall guy. It's a more preferable thing for me. So I was like, all right, hell yeah.
Speaking of big tall guy.
All right.
Talking about Todd Howard. Can we talk about Todd Howard? People live in
that guy wasn't
Twitter
even
moment,
particularly tall.
That's the Twitter moment, by the way, is that Todd Howard isn't that short. He's like he's like 5'6".
He's 5'6".
Like he's like 5'6", and the guy next to him was 6'3", and they just had him standing next to this guy for like minutes, like three, 4 minutes straight. And the other guy was like talking, and sometimes Todd would talk, but he looked really uncomfortable next to this like very tall man who was like dick to shoulder with him. And people have just been editing. They're calling him Little Todd. They've been like editing him to be smaller and smaller in that screenshot, like every single time I see it. Like, there was that because like it was for like the first time because they brought him out multiple times. They brought him and this guy out
with Troy Baker. Yeah,
was it Troy Baker?
That's Troy Baker was the first one, and then Troy Baker is 6'3". Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was two different guys. But they brought him out first for Indiana Jones. They brought him out first for Indiana Jones, and then Harrison Ford came out. And we made fun of Harrison Ford's like speech patterns a little bit last night. And you were like, I think he had a stroke. He didn't have a stroke. People on Twitter figured it out. He was just fucking wasted.
He was fucking wasted? Hell yeah.
Apparently he was just fucking wasted. Because one of the memes I saw was Harrison Ford standing next to Todd Howard, who was like at waist height to him. And Harrison, like, looking down at a piece of paper, like, reading, or, like, looking down toward the teleprompter, like, reading, and, like, sort of into the mic, and it looks kind of like he's looking down at this smaller Todd Howard, and the captioning was, Harrison Ford was so wasted on stage, he nearly ate little Todd right then and there. Like, he was just going, yeah. Do you know I was in the chess club? You know, fucking Todd Howard dying.
Like a goddamn Oblivion NPC dying. Like ragdolling onto the floor, knees first, and then bending backwards.
Yeah, that's where they got it from. He dies like
that.
Yeah,
wow.
He passes out, he just does that. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild as hell. But
not to mention, you know, the thing that Todd Howard does where every time he's like talking to you one-on-one, it does like the Oblivion thing or like the Skyrim thing where it like zooms in on his fucking face and he's your whole field of view for the duration of the conversation until he decides to free you.
Yeah. Well, though, like,
Todd,
who the fuck decided that,
Todd.
like, let's put Todd Howard next to the 6'2" guy, and then next time he goes up, let's put him up next to the 6'3" guy. It'll be great. Like, I don't know. If I was Todd Howard, I'd be a little
humiliation ritual. But no, I'd say that's the Twitter moment, because people are editing Little Todd into all sorts of situations, and I love it. I'm having a lot of fun with Little Todd. Oh, man.
Yeah.
But no, he did a joke that I thought was, at the time, on the stream, I had no fucking reaction, but I got a clip of it on TikTok immediately afterward. The clip where they're talking about it because Troy Baker plays Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the video game that just released that actually looks pretty damn good. But that aside, he was up there, Troy Baker, and he was talking with Todd Howard, and right before they brought Harrison Ford out, Todd Howard goes, you know, I think if there were a category for best indie performance, then you should get it. But there might be another competitor here tonight. And at first I was just like on stream, I was like, best indie performance? I guess he's an independent actor. He's not like owned by a studio. And then like I got the clip after the fact and I was like, oh, indie, like Indiana Jones. Okay. As in best actor to play indie. Yeah. All right. No, that joke made sense. It just like wasn't clicking for me in the moment. I felt so fucking dumb watching that clip back and going like, oh fuck, that was actually kind of good, Todd. Good going.
Yeah. God damn. But that's silly. But yeah, that was
what
a little Todd.
Let's continue our announcement segment before
Slay the Spire 2.
Talk about awards. Slay the Spire 2.
Got nothing to say about that.
I don't really have opinions. I know people who liked Slay the Spire, and I think they'll enjoy it. It looked like Slay the Spire to me. It looked like it got a nice art upgrade too. So
it did look like it got a nice art upgrade. The reason that I wanted to talk about it though is because every year since I've been watching the Game Awards, which is the past like 3 or 4, we've always had like card games as like a persistent thing that shows up where it's
There's
like
always a new
fucking
card
great.
Game.
Another card game. I think that Slay the Spire 2 was the only one, which I think Slay the Spire 2.
That's kind of a dying fad. We're like a little late to the card game thing. I think Balatro caught it out the door. The door. and made like a really innovative, like approachable card game. Because that's the problem I run into with a lot of these card games. Is just like, these card video games. Is that physical card games are a thing that you have to sit down and you have to learn the mechanics of, and it's just like, oh, so like, for Magic, you turn the card every now and again when like a monster is dead or something, and then you've gotta like lay out this entire field of cards, or even with like, or like this card has this effect but only when it's raining, or this one has this effect but only if you're upside down on a Tuesday, and it's just like, dude, I can't keep up with all this. This is a lot of information for me. This is gonna take like a good 10 hours of gameplay. Not 10 hours, but it's gonna take
like Warhammer,
like, a real solid play session for me to like sit down and figure this out, and each hand takes a while. And I feel like with the exception of like the big ones like Neon White, a lot of these like card video games fall into that same trope where it's just like, this card is too hyper specific, useless. This card, I don't remember what it does. I haven't seen it since like hour 2 of the game.
But like Balatro is built off of...
here's a dungeon crawler where cards give you effects, and it's just like, why? Why can't I just play the dungeon crawler? Why does this whole thing card themed when the cards are practically just stat buffs that you get along the way? Why can't these just be like a stat buff thing?
We had like a battle royale game where people pick up cards and shit. That was the other card game actually, but I thought that one was kind of neat.
I don't know,
I wouldn't call that really a card game.
I'm a big sucker for battle royale. I think just about any game format could work as a battle royale. I think Tetris 99 should be the biggest example of like, look, you can make anything a battle royale and I'll fucking play it. But yeah, I think
Tetris
the card
99.
game thing. I think I was very good at it until I modded my Switch and then couldn't play Tetris 99 anymore because obviously you can't use a modded Switch online.
Stuck with fucking Puyo Puyo Tetris or Tetris.
Puyo Puyo Tetris is pretty good. Puyo Puyo Tetris is pretty good though.
Yeah.
But what was I saying? Oh, right. Balatro is very simple. Balatro is just poker, kind of. It's not even quite poker. It's simplified poker, even.
It just uses poker hands, which like everybody knows.
Poker hands, but like, and I didn't know every poker hand. But they have like a guide thing that's like, here's all the poker hands, here's all their point values. And so it's very easy to reference that at any point throughout the game if you're unsure. And it only really takes... And it's a roguelike, and I really like my roguelikes. I didn't used to. I was like, why the fuck is everything a goddamn roguelike? This sucks. I want narrative video games. I want stories, goddammit. And now, as I age, I kind of just have a hard time finding the time for big, expansive story games. And I get less satisfaction out of them. It's like, when I want a big, expansive story, I go to movies. When I want dopamine hits and to fucking hit sick clips, I play video games. That's the difference maker. When I want to express myself... And then there's like sandbox games like Minecraft, which are for self-expression and artistic endeavors mostly. But I don't come to video games for like big stories anymore, really. And like I'm finding my joy in roguelikes. I don't know, but it's a roguelike, which makes it very approachable on top of all that, because it's like you fuck up in like, because there's some narrative-driven games and some open world games where it's like, yep. You picked up the lead pipe at the beginning of the game instead of the baseball bat, which means you're just gonna do, like, 1 less damage for the rest of the fucking game. You're just locked in until you find a better weapon at hour 16, and it's like, well, alright. Whereas, like, with a roguelike, it's very easy to, like, learn as you go and fuck around and find out, for lack of a better way of putting it. And I don't know, I find Balatro very approachable and fun, and definitely a shining example of, like, the card game fad that I was so, like, vehemently against a year or two ago. I don't know.
But, like, Slay the Spire being the only one, I think Slay the Spire 2 deserved a spot. Again, I don't think I would call that, like, Battle Royale, really, a card game. It just kind of uses cards to do special effects. So I would more so say that's just a more innovative game on its own. But, that was great, other than Slay the Spire.
Any other announcements?
Let's get to the weird ones. Right? Let's go straight into the weird ones.
Let's do weird shit.
I'm gonna list these all together. Ninja Gaiden, Virtual Fighter.
Gaiden. Let's talk about Ninja Gaiden.
And and the other one that was like weird.
Ninja Gaiden. We're gonna talk about Ninja Gaiden, we're gonna talk about Virtual Fighter, and we're gonna talk about Turok all together here. Because I got a big point to make about these. First of all, Ninja Gaiden comes up on my screen, and within 2 seconds, I immediately, like, in my head as a joke, go, this kind of looks like Ninja Gaiden. And it's like, there's no way they're putting out a fucking Ninja Gaiden game. If I say that, I'm gonna look like a fucking idiot. I'm not gonna say that out loud. And then, lo and behold,
and then they did.
A minute into the trailer, I was just like, fuck, this is Ninja Gaiden, isn't it? And then right after I actually said it out loud, bam, Ninja Gaiden logo, big text on the screen. And so that was really weird. And then they announced like a dinosaur hunting game with like FPS mechanics and shit. And I was like, this is kind of Turok-esque, but there's no way it's Turok. And then bam, Turok. And then they didn't even really give us any like preamble to this one. They kind of just told us immediately that Virtua Fighter was Virtua Fighter.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't say that it was Virtua Fighter. They just said the guy who made Virtua Fighter is here to announce a new game, and it's like Virtua Fighter is back. And it's like, okay, well, this is Virtua Fighter.
Yeah, it's very straight to the point, which I can appreciate. Most of the Game Award like trailers are like, here's this 2-minute long cinematic, and then you're gonna see the title, and you're gonna go, what the fuck was that game? And then you won't think about it until you see the actual trailer for it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I hate that. I said it on the stream that, like, toward the end, I was just like, man, if we get another trailer that's literally 2 minutes of, like, nondescript environmental shots, and then, like, maybe, like, 30 seconds of actual gameplay, if any, and then a title card drop and a release date, I'm gonna be a little annoyed. But, like, it turned out not to be that way, really, for, like, a few of these. They were very upfront about a few of these. I feel like that's part of the excitement, is looking at a new trailer and going, oh, what is this? What is this? But when you're, like, 15 of those deep, it becomes such just, like, a, all right, what is this? You know?
Yeah,
like,
all right, what is this?
But,
enough of the games.
No.
Enough of the games. I don't want to watch the Game Awards anymore.
Fuck the Game Awards. I'm done. I'm leaving. I do feel like the Game Awards does have that problem of length, where it's like, I think they did a lot more with their time this time than they usually do, instead of like that time they like dedicated 17 minutes of the show to let Andrew WK the fucking advertise Rage and then leave. I think it was like Rage 2 that year. It was a few years ago, but it was a long ass like 5-10 minute performance. Whereas like, I don't know, they gave Snoop Dogg 2 songs, but they were each like 1-minute songs, and so it was like, okay, this is a piece. I was
surprised how short 21 Pilots was.
Yeah, 21 Pilots wasn't even like, they had 2 musical guests, which they usually have 2 musical guests, but they kind of just let 21 Pilots do the like, here's a song from Arcane that we wanted to include anyway in the show, because the people from Arcane are going to be announcing like, oh no, it was the people from The Last of Us. So I don't know why they did Arcane stuff at the show, really. I guess just fucking wanted to.
Arcane was on the list for, like, best adaptation.
It was on the list of nominees, but they didn't do anything for the rest of the nominees. But I think a lot of the musical performances were an appropriate length. I feel like they did a lot to cut that down. I feel like they did a lot to cut down a lot of the celebrity chatter of, like, here's, you know, we still had a moment where it was like, here's Aaron Paul to, like, fuck around for 5 fucking minutes before he actually says anything of substance, and then announce a game that apparently Moist Critical and Jacksepticeye are in with him, and that's, I don't know, I saw the cast list for that. It's called Dispatch, and it's I don't know what to make of it, but they cut down on a lot of that stuff. They were very straight to the point a lot of the time. They gave the Muppets a recurring segment instead of just like, here, we're gonna wheel out the Muppets for 5 minutes, and instead we're just gonna give them like 3 30-minute, or not 3 30-minute, but 3 like 3-minute chunks of the show. If even that.
Just let them fuck about.
And I think it was aided by the fact that, like, they're saying what we're all thinking. We could talk about the Muppets in a minute. But, like, I think people really found this endearing because they were, they had Statler and Waldorf this year, which I immediately was like, all right, they're gonna have Statler and Waldorf on. They're not gonna actually let him say anything like Kojima is, like, Jeff Keighley's gonna suck Kojima's dick. They're not gonna say anything about how, like, they're not gonna hit anything heavy hitting. They're not gonna say anything about the DLC. They're not gonna say anything about, like, the Game Awards, please wrap it up.
Please wrap it up.
Nothing controversial. They're not actually going to let them roast Jeff Keighley. They're just gonna make them go, oh, that game looked like fun. Yeah, fun from the grave, or some stupid shit like that. And, like, that makes no goddamn sense. Instead of just letting the Muppet actors be the Muppet actors, or the Muppet performers, rather. But no, they did. Statler and Waldorf were calling him a fucking sellout. They called him a sellout. The first thing they did. Within a minute of being on the screen, they went, Jeff Keighley is a fucking sellout. They said that as closely as they could, while still, like, being Muppet characters. It was great. And they had them up on, like, a balcony seat. They had them in the fucking, like, Abe Lincoln fucking seating. Like, shouting down. Booth. Yeah, shouting down. Well, that's kind of disrespectful to call it a booth. But shouting down at the fucking at Jeff Keighley, just like, fuck you, dickhead, and he genuinely seemed kind of mad about it. He genuinely.
Yeah, I don't think they ran the script past Jeff Keighley. I'm certain of it because Jeff Keighley looks pretty like shocked.
And he was like, because a couple of the things they said, he was like, "Oh, what the fuck am I gonna do?" You know, like, he was like, I didn't know they were gonna say that because previous years. They've had Muppet performers on before, but they had Animal last year, who basically ran around with Game Awards, and that was just about it.
Yeah, that was all.
And was just kind of endearing. And then they had, like, Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker the year before that. Not the year before that. Oh, no, they had Swedish Chef in 2021.
They had Swedish Chef in 2021, yeah. Because we were happy about that.
Or in 2020. It was 2020, actually, because he called in for COVID. And then 2021, they didn't have a Muppet guest. But either way, they had all these Muppet guests at some point on the show, and they were all very endearing and very just like, oh, we're gonna do a little like jokey kind of haha like lighthearted bit about VR, or we're gonna do a bit about cooking games, or we're gonna do a bit about screaming and harassing the fucking pre-show lady via Animal. And then this time it was, fuck you, buddy. All right, you brought up
Jeff Keighley.
Like the kid gloves were off this year. They were just nailing Jeff Keighley back to back. Have you seen
the pre-show lady matching her outfit to the Muppets? Is one of my favorite things about the show. I noticed it like 2 years ago.
She's been doing that every year, and I noticed it with Animal because it was the most like, obvious that she was doing that.
Cookie Monster was 2021 because she was in that like bright blue fuzzy dress, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
Maybe he was. I don't know, but she wore like a dress that was very reminiscent of Animal's fur, and we were just like, because I remember that pre-show because she came on, and we were all expecting Animal that show because like I had already mentioned that like, oh, that's their Muppet guest this year, that's gonna be funny, and she came up wearing that, and I was like, holy shit, did they skin Animal?
Yeah. Oh, Gonzo is what it was.
Gonzo was why she was wearing that blue fuck ass dress. Yeah, no. Gonzo was pretty good. He mispronounced something very horribly that year. I don't remember what it was, but I'll tell you what, Statler and Waldorf were the best. Statler and Waldorf were the best Muppet guests they've ever had, and the best additions to the show. I want Statler and Waldorf at every Game Awards. I want them at the Olympics. I want Statler and Waldorf in the theater with me while I'm watching movies.
I want Statler and Waldorf with us.
Yeah, I want Statler and Waldorf on Fight About It. Let's make that happen. Happen. Bring them on the show, and they'll call me a dirty fucking rat or something. It'll be great. I'll love it.
This upcoming Halloween,
I'll give you a better reaction than Jeff Keighley.
Yeah, this upcoming Halloween, we're gonna fucking commission MK to make us Statler and Waldorf. That's what we're gonna do.
That'd be really funny.
That would be good. That'd be a good bit.
Really, actually, kind of funny to like do a Halloween stream and we're in costume. You've got like facial hair like taped on. Which one would you want to be? Do you want to be Statler or do you want to be Waldorf?
I don't know. Which I don't know. Am I more of a Statler or are you more of a Waldorf?
I think
I'm more of the short, stout one.
Yeah, you're more Statler than Waldorf, but I think based on the fact that I'm on the left and you're on the right, we would have to do like me as Statler and you as Waldorf. I think that's the best way to nail that.
Sometimes they show up in like reverse order, but that's pretty rare.
Maybe. I don't know. I think I
either way,
we can figure that out. But they were definitely the highlight of the show. I want them, long story short, I want them at every event ever from now on.
It would be great.
I want them at the NBA finals, everything. Everything.
Somebody came into your chat and was like,
finals.
Somebody in your chat, unaware of the bit, came in and was like, yeah, you guys are Statler and Waldorf coded. And it was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying, dude.
That's what I'm saying. But that was someone who had already admitted that they listened to the podcast a lot, so they might have already heard us say that.
Damn.
But regardless, loved Statler and Waldorf. Fucking
Statler
great.
and Waldorf was great.
There was a bit that they did about like, oh yeah, did you know that Jeff Keighley is friends with Kojima? Does Kojima know that? Oh, yeah. And they cut over to Kojima and he like nods and like bows, and somebody said he thinks that they're real, and I thought that was funny. Dude, he was so polite to them, and it's just like, hey, why would you be polite to the Muppets? But like, he just kind of took it. Like, I'm certain, like, we can joke all day about like, did they run the script past Jeff? But like, they definitely didn't run it past Kojima, and he definitely laughed.
He was just big chilling. Kojima's chill like that, dude. Kojima is actually friends with Norman Reedus.
I find his art. I find like his artistic expression and the way he talks about his art a little bit pretentious sometimes, but otherwise, I think he's a pretty chill guy, back to front. He hung out with
then
Conan
you hear some
for a
shit
little
about
while,
like,
and that was a funny moment. I think just like Conan and Kojima just fucking around for a while, because I don't know.
You hear some
I like
shit,
when they
though,
let Kojima
like,
be silly.
yeah, Kojima is a silly guy. Like, Kojima barely takes himself seriously.
Yeah, but like every time
yeah.
you see him for like an award show or something, he's very stone faced. And like talking about like the importance of artistry in video games or some shit. And so it's just like he doesn't get many opportunities to be publicly silly about things. Except on his Twitter.
Yeah.
His Twitter's pretty good.
His Twitter's pretty good. That's kind of if you're thinking about the one that I'm thinking about, is his like a parody Twitter. Sadly.
No.
But
his actual Twitter, like the one where he fucking like the one where he like he tweets about like movies and shit that he's seen.
Oh yeah.
Like he does like movie reviews and shit, because he did like it was the year the film came out. That's gonna be the punchline of this. I don't want to give it away immediately, but he was like talking about like, oh, I saw Infinity War, or not Infinity War, I saw Endgame, it was really good, I loved it. And then like saw the new Spider-Man, fucking loved it, great time, good to see all these classic actors return. And then dead in the middle of those was saw Captain Marvel. That was the whole tweet. That was it. That's all he had
Captain
to say.
Marvel.
The rest of these, both of these other examples got like a full tweet, if not like a couple tweets worth of review. Just saw Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I saw it. It did exist.
He's pretty funny, which I think is
pretty
the best
much
you
how
could
I
say
do
about
Captain Marvel.
I don't think it's bad, and I'm not one of those like, oh, the woke left and women in media, grr. But I just thought it was kind of all right. It was an all right movie. I had fun with it, but you know,
yeah.
Wasn't anything more than
it just like, wasn't really well written.
You know?
Yeah.
I liked Young Nick Fury. I thought Young Nick Fury was fun.
Young Nick Fury was fun, and like Cat Scratch being his like eye issue was fun. But like I don't know, my issue was just like it kind of felt kind of like out of the ass for a lot of it. Which I know makes it sound like she's a what is that, Mary Sue or something?
Yeah.
I don't fucking know. It sounds like that, but I assure you it's not. But the Game Awards, Kojima's a chill guy. Statler and Waldorf is great. For that Statler and Waldorf bit where they bring him up, I was
go ahead.
One of my points was more than 5 minutes that Kojima is like involved and on screen or presenting
more
something.
More than 5 minutes dedicated to Kojima.
And like he had done like 3 minutes flat. It was like 3 minutes exactly presenting an award. And then I was like, fuck, I'm not going to get this. This is the 1 year that Kojima isn't going to like talk for 1 billion years. And then they bring him up and they show him on screen and I was like, add 10 seconds to the timer. Add 10 seconds, go.
10 seconds, my boy, please.
Please give me 10 seconds, Kojima. But
I thought Statler and Waldorf were pretty good. Moving on, though, looping back around a little bit because we didn't really get to talk about it. Turok, Ninja Gaiden, and God, what was the other one? Virtua Fighter.
Yeah,
all those together. It's weird how many like classic game franchises are making like a big comeback. Like how many like older games are making a big comeback. Not even just like insanely classic shit like those first three, but even like a big announcement they were saving for the end. That like Half-Life 3 baited a few people. Okami 2 is happening, and to my understanding, there was like a big falling out between the studio and the creator of the game. You know, they're back together.
Konami sucks.
Yeah, Konami sucks.
Because Konami sucks ass.
Well, is Okami Konami or is Okami Konami?
It is.
Is Okami Konami or is it like Capcom? I thought it was Capcom.
Is it Capcom?
It might
we'll
be
find
Capcom.
out.
We'll find out.
But yeah.
But either way, there was a falling out, and like a bunch of people were like, "That's one of those like Hail Mary games for a lot of people, where it's like this is never gonna fucking happen."
Capcom.
And so like this is never gonna fucking happen for me. This isn't like doable. There's like a rights issue, but you know that's resolved now, and we're getting Okami 2. And a lot of people are hype about it, and a lot of people are real sour about it. I hate to see what's becoming of the Valve community, in these trying times where people are falling for, like, I don't know. I feel like there's a point where if you're Charlie Brown running up to kick the football, it's on you. You know? I feel like if you sat down and wholeheartedly, like, no offense to anybody who did this, but if you sat down in the year of our Lord 2024 to watch the Game Awards with the expectation that Gabe Newell was going to walk out on stage, announce Half-Life 3, and then leave,
You're fucking
stupid.
crazy.
You are the stupidest person to have ever lived for that explicitly. And it's not, if this is your first go round, if you're like a new Valve fan, that's fine. I'm sure you've heard the stories. You get a pass. Yeah. But if you've been around for more than pre the release of Half-Life Alyx, don't fucking say you fell for this shit. That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're an embarrassment to all of us. The people who are more an embarrassment to all of us, as Valve fans, are the people who are bashing, Okami 2 as just, fuck you, Jeff Keighley, and fuck Okami 2. This is fucking, Capcom slop, and you're feeding it to us instead of giving us our beautiful Half-Life 3. And it's I feel like people misuse the word Jeff Keighley's fault a lot recently.
Yeah.
It's nobody's fault, Nobody said Half-Life 3 was coming. You got your expectations up all on your own off the basis of some a supposed Apple employee saying so ahead of the
not
show.
even a confirmed Apple employee, just somebody who might be an Apple employee, maybe.
The fact that you would believe an Apple employee, somebody who does not work at Valve even a little bit, even tangentially, to begin with, is really something. The fact that you would believe the word of a
That's fucking embarrassing,
Apple employee, someone you can't even confirm works for Apple, because I think they gave this information anonymously, and if they didn't, I haven't seen anybody double check it at all. People are just taking that at face value. Come on. I stood on business on Wednesday and was no fucking way. No goddamn way that they announced Half-Life 3. Maybe. I really want them to. There's no fucking way, though. Realistically, it's just not happening. And I feel like I stuck pretty firm to that pretty much the whole time. They gave me a couple scares. They gave me a couple scares here and there where it was this is the biggest game to be announced in 20 years, and it was developed in secret, and nobody's known anything else about it before now, and it's one of the most innovative companies to ever work in gaming, yada, 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 typical Jeff Keighley hyping up the most mid-trailer you've ever seen stuff. And, occasionally I was oh shit, maybe... maybe, but no, not happening.
Yeah, no, you got there were a couple times where it was oh, Vox, you're coping for a moment. You were having a split moment of cope, and then you returned to the land of the non-coping. But
when you're waiting on a chocolate cake and somebody's I've got a pastry here you wouldn't believe. It's one of the most well-renowned flavors. It's a dark, creamy flavor. You're really gonna like it. I think you'll love it. And they hand you a caramel donut. Then you can't blame me for expecting chocolate cake, man. Come on. They described the chocolate cake almost to a T. Give me a break. Yeah. But no, I think it's odd how many old franchises are coming back. I think we're doing good. I think we're doing good as an industry right now. I don't think anything was too bad. Except they announced a game about cats this time. Do you remember cats? That trailer about I think
that didn't even make it onto the list. Yeah,
didn't even make it onto the list. It made it onto my personal list in my brain though, because
all right,
found out that shit was looking at that. We were looking at that, right? And we were going, this is ass. And I was kind of half looking at it because honestly, if a trailer doesn't catch me, I'm not really looking. I was responding to chat and shit, so I wasn't analyzing it. But based on vibes alone, I was this is garbo. Why does it look like that? It looks like that because it's AI generated.
Oh wow, we were spot on that shit. It's a fucking
AI slop game made by a guy who peddles NFTs apparently. And just somehow this made it into the Game Awards. Yeah, no. I looked back at it when somebody said that. I was maybe. And I looked back at it and got the confirmation on it. And I was no, yeah. I took one look at that trailer again. I was
this is why all the character designs look like big ass.
That's why they all look like
sucks.
Yeah. No, that absolutely sucks to see AI getting a front row appearance at the Game Awards. Fuck that shit.
Yeah,
but
that shit sucks.
That was one of the moments of the night in retrospect that I felt coming back to in just a oh man kind of way. Every time I see something Jeff Keighley live on the Game Awards has endorsed AI as the future of gaming. I sort of just kind of second-handedly by showing this off and platforming a guy who thinks that I sort of just, oh man, in the same way I do when my dog pisses on the carpet, where it's dude,
yeah,
what? Why would you go and do a thing like that? First of all, God
I don't
damn
know.
it.
I don't think it's necessarily the Game Awards' fault, even. I think it could totally be like yeah, fuck it, you paid to get on here, because I think that's what the showcases are at this point, right? Like, you pay to get into the showcase.
A studio has just paid to, like, be in the showcase, but, like, the fact that this show, like, between that and, like, letting a DLC run for Game of the Year, which we'll get around to, by the way, those two factors combined, like, you know, it makes me go, like, man, does this show have a backbone at all? Does the does like the Academy, who are responsible for upkeep on this show and maintenance on the Game Awards, as like what they want to be, a prestigious, like high level, like tribute to gaming in current year, like as a ceremony, like do they think about this shit? Do they sit down and evaluate how the image of the Game Awards might be
in
affected?
their chairs?
Yeah, like, do they think about how that vision they have for how the Game Awards should be is affected by, yeah, sure, we'll let a DLC run for standalone Game of the Year for a game that came out last year and a DLC that came out this year, or, yeah,
game that won
we'll
Game of the Year,
AI
mind
slop
you.
because they gave us, like, a game that already won Game of the Year, fucking, like, and then advertising as AI slop on top of that. I can't believe this shit, man. It genuinely disheartens me a little bit, because it's like, I don't know. I want to think that the Game Awards could be better than that. Every year I show up to the Game Awards and I go, I know last year was a bust. I know last year wasn't the best, but maybe this year will be better. And I don't feel like I was disappointed in that this year was overall a more entertaining show, I feel. It was more interesting to look at, you know? But it had a lot of lowlights too, is my issue. And that's just where I stand on
like,
it.
now that I know that's AI generated, that's hella upsetting.
But pulling us out of this, one highlight of the Game Awards that I really enjoyed that does kind of cement it as sort of a semi-prestigious Academy Award ceremony, is the Game Awards Orchestra. I really like the Game Awards Orchestra.
Oh, I love the Game Awards Orchestra. I love the flute
little
guy.
medleys they do. I love the little medleys they do for all the, like, that include, like, songs from all the nominees for Game of the Year. I love that they get to come out and help with performances. I love that there is a Game Awards Orchestra. I love that that exists. I love that, like, I like orchestral music. I like when the function got orchestral music. Cue that image of, like, the emoji rubbing his hands together sinisterly. I love when the function has orchestral music played live by a band. Love that shit. It really classes up the place, I think, especially for the fucking Mountain Dew and Doritos convention that is the Game Awards. You know?
Yeah.
Makes me really feel like I ought to be, like, wearing more than a t-shirt, fucking wipe the Cheeto dust off my hands, you know, pay the fuck attention. You know?
Sure.
Oh, fuck.
Call me too.
Call me Randy Pitchford, the way I'm looking like a fucking slob right now. What was highlights of the Game Awards? I really like the orchestra. I do like the orchestra.
The orchestra is good.
Most people agreed with me. We said it in the moment. Agreed with us, I'd say, because we both said this. That, god damn, can we get a full rendition of the Balatro theme done by the orchestra? Because that was
that shit was cool as hell. Yeah,
I think that was real good. Shit.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. I think that the orchestra is funny because at this point, like, it's a gorgeous orchestra. They do a great job.
They do a damn good job, but they kind of let them play around a little bit on stage for the meme factor.
Yeah, well, like, everybody talked about the flute guy that showed up, like, 2 years ago, and ever since, they've been like, yeah, fuck it, you got a little, like, trombone trumpet thing that you're gonna, like, kazoo on stage,
giving him more and more, like, center stage shit to do, while still remaining just, like, the horn section, you know? Like, so he's still, like, doing what he ought to be doing, but, like, they're just, like, making him more and more extravagant. Like, this year they sat him on, like, the very front, at the very end, so he's, like, very easy to keep an eye on, and they kept cutting to, like, a tight shot of him, and he was playing his fucking heart out.
He plays, like, a bass flute, and then a recorder, and then some sort of weird kazoo-looking thing that I've never seen before. It was great. I love that guy.
I love that guy, too, and you know why I love that guy? Because most of the time I'd go, right, it's this guy, fucking milking his one bit, but, like, he was doing that not as a bit. He genuinely just does
No,
that.
he loves music.
Like, he genuinely
just gets into that shit.
He's not doing it because, like, he's not, like, on his, like, Manny shit where he's, like, telling the same joke every 5 fucking minutes ad nauseum. But, like, he's, like, you know, he really enjoys it. You know? He's really getting that into it. And that's
like,
what I like about that guy.
The reason that he got turned into a meme and that bit happened was because he just fucking loved that shit. But, yeah, that was the Game Awards orchestra. I think that the only thing left to really talk about is the Naughty Dog game that was shown that looked pretty good. Yeah, announcements-wise, the Naughty Dog game that looked pretty good.
I thought it looked pretty alright. It had a lot of product placement.
It had Naughty Dog product placement. Like, fucking, not throw up that image, but, like, imagine in your mind that image of fucking, what is his name? Nathan Drake holding a fucking Subway cup and jumping out of an airplane. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. No, imagine that image. Of shit like that. It was a lot of shit like that. And, people were already joking about Naughty Dog. I didn't even think about the fact that it was a Naughty Dog game, honestly. I know they said it, and I know I acknowledged it, but I didn't think about the implications of that. But I was just like, people are already joking about it on Twitter where it's like, this is just gonna be an okay narrative game where, like, everybody and their mother in the industry blows it out of proportion and jerks this fucking game off nonstop. For being, like, the best, most innovative thing of its kind. And then, like, I saw somebody joking about how, like, the release schedule for Naughty Dog has just been changed to Intergalactic, and then Intergalactic next year, year after that, Intergalactic PC, year after that, Intergalactic Remastered, year after that, Intergalactic Remastered 2nd Edition, year after that, Last of Us 2 10th Anniversary Edition.
Yeah.
And it's like, pretty much. Probably. They're worse than Bethesda in my eyes, because these are, like, real remasters. Like, they just go through and, like, they're not even quote-unquote remasters. I'd argue they're still remasters because they change how the game looks. Mm-hmm. But, like, because graphical fidelity, since Last of Us 2 came out, hasn't moved. Like, the needle hasn't really moved in any meaningful way. We've kind of popped out as an industry where, like, making your game look as realistic as possible isn't really the move anymore. It's, now we have the hardware where we don't really, because, like, all the way up through, like, even the Wii era, like, the Wii 360, PS3 era, I'd argue is like the last era where it was like developers were really challenged to push the hardware as much as they could and take it to its very limits and have your little PlayStation 3 console weeping and quaking and crying and begging for air, asking, and then you're like bursting the door down like an abusive dad, but instead of a belt you're carrying like a copy of The Last of Us 2. Or The Last of Us, even. That came out pretty late gen for PS3 and looked very fucking good for a PS3.
It looks gorgeous for PS3, yeah.
Late era PS3 is like the peak of like, this game looks real fucking good before we started getting into the weeds, I feel, of like, I made every single hair follicle on Nathan Drake's asshole visible. And it's like, we don't need that. We don't need that.
We don't fucking need this shit. Return to the style a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like we've moved away so far from like, because there was still a lot of innovation to be had in the limitation of it. Limitation bred a lot of creativity in that, like, we couldn't make a hyper realistic gun for this character, so we made this cool like semi-fantasy gun with our own little design that like works well for the hardware or whatever, and you would get little bits and pieces like that amongst even the most realistic and gritty of video games. And then slowly over time, like once we got to the point, we're kind of at a stage now where, you know, you can make your game look pretty much photorealistic in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can make a video game look very photorealistic, at least for a modern PC release. And on consoles, you can make it look pretty damn close to how it would look on that modern PC release, with a few optimizations. But a well-optimized game can look fucking higher res than real life in some cases.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So it's just like, I see us moving in a direction. And I'll get into this more in a... I'll back this up now, actually, with the fact that Astrobot won Game of the Year. I wanted to talk about that on its own. We'll talk at length about Astrobot in a minute. But I feel like I sense something on the horizon where the rest of the game industry finally catches up with what indie games have known for about a decade, in that, like, to make your game stand out, you don't make it the most realistic, immersive sim possible. You make a stylized game that like you see in like the fucking like Steam store and go, what is that? You know, something that will turn your head in, and it'll become more graphics as a fashion instead of graphics as a skill. Where like people really start to lean into the surrealist nature of like, yeah, sure, I can render fucking, I don't remember who said this. This is a quote from somebody else, but yeah, sure, I could render blades of grass on a hill at sunset. I could also just go outside and experience that. What's the point of putting a computer through its paces to render something that already exists? Why not use that power and put it toward something interesting, you know, that like it plays to its strengths? Anyway, go ahead.
My Kojima fan ass is gonna shine through here, but I think one of the high bars.
But even Kojima doesn't do that. Even Kojima doesn't do this like hyper realistic graphics shit. He does
like that's what I mean. I think that the high bar for it is Death Stranding. Death Stranding is gorgeous. It looks hyper realistic in some cases. Like there are renders of it when it's starting the game that you're like, is that a real fucking photo? And then you see like some like coral reef thing with bugs flying out of it, and you're like, no, that's a fucking part of the game, dude. And I think that that's the high bar. Is we can have.
I know they're pre-rendered. But before we move on from Death Stranding, I genuinely thought they had like live action ads with Norman Reedus for a little bit.
I know.
Because
like that's what I'm saying.
I didn't hear much about it, but I saw like posters for it, and I was like, that is literally just a guy. Did they like remake the character in the game? Like, I know they would have based it on Norman Reedus, but did they give Norman Reedus, like, here is the exact outfit your character will wear in the video game, including all the cool sci-fi equipment made to, like, a like, the nth detail, and, like, you're gonna wear it, and we're gonna do a photo shoot, and we're gonna, like, maybe shoot a couple, like, 15-second ads. I think in motion, it kind of falls apart a little bit, where you can definitely, like, you know,
can see the cracks.
Tell. You could see where like sometimes you catch like a close up on a face and go, "Ooh, there's a real sharp polygon on that cheek over there." You know, on like the outline of the character. But
that's pretty rare.
Generally, you lean back in your chair and like you know you're there. Like it's real. You might as well be watching an episode of The Walking Dead with how high detail Norman Reedus' fucking greasy ass hair is.
I genuinely think that Death Stranding is like the peak of what we've seen so far of you can have something really high fidelity and also add your own style to it, because like we've had way too much.
He doesn't really do. I mean, he does stylization. Obviously, there's like the beach sections in Death Stranding, but I feel like
the beach and the goop. I feel like a lot of
there are a lot of cool sections in that game. But I feel like the big thing is that Kojima wants to like make a video game. Like he doesn't want to make a movie you can play. He wants to make a video game that is sometimes a movie, occasionally, when it suits the narrative. He's like, as much shit as I give him for being a little bit pretentious, he kind of has earned it in that, like, going as far back as like Metal Gear Solid 1, he's willing to throw out the rule book entirely on like what a video game ought to be, and just like here's a stealth level. Play a stealth level. And then you'll get like a fucking 7 or 8 minute cutscene on the goddamn PS1 that's like about like the deep lore of like Snake and fucking Liquid Snake, and
then fucking like throw in a guy who's gonna read your save data,
and then do a thing where fucking Psycho Mantis shows up and moves your fucking controller around for a couple minutes with the new DualShock Rumble feature. Yeah, do that.
Like it's,
and like he's willing to
so
completely just like he's got this like ability that I think a lot of great artists in their mediums have, where he's willing and able to just. He knows the rules, right? He's taken like absolute like leaps and bounds in knowing the rules and showing that he understands the fundamentals. But he's able to shut that part of his brain off and go, fuck the fundamentals. Fuck what we were doing 20 years ago that worked. Fuck what we were doing yesterday that worked even. What are we doing today? We've got this thing that's got rumble motors in it. Maybe we can make the guy move your controller around. We'll ask the player to... That is an insane thing, all right, if you think about it. A lot of games do a lot of weird meta shit these days, but think about it as a gamer in 2003, 2004.
Oh
and
my God.
You're playing a game. I know, it's really hard to be in 2004.
No.
The
Yeah, holy shit.
It's a whole thing. But holy shit, what's up?
No, I was gonna continue down about like along with that idea with like Psycho Mantis and that of
well, can I finish my thought real quick?
Yeah, finish your thought and then I'll move on to mine.
I'm gonna lose it. I know I'm gonna lose this fucking thought if I let it
go for it.
But like you're a gamer in like 2003, 2004. We're coming off the 90s hot, and there's still a lot of that 90s quick go, like in your face action attitude era bullshit going on. Where every piece of media, including video games, wants your full undivided attention and wants you to engage with it, and is just like begging and pleading, like give me a couple hours of your afternoon, will ya? Give me a couple hours of your afternoon. I'll give you some great gaming experiences, I swear. And they try so hard to sell you on this. Now, picture a game that just made you watch like a 3 to 5 minute cutscene and is now asking you to put your fucking controller down. Like, it is actively asking you to sit the controller down and let me talk about your save data and move your controller around while you're like
that
playing
shit's
this game
wild.
in your room as a child. That is like an unorthodox move, to be sure. And like I feel like we're headed there. I feel like we're at the point where a lot of these like graphics heads who like want to push their hardware as hard as they can are just about satisfied with how things look, and the actual technical people are realizing that like computer chip hardware over time is hitting a plateau where the improvements are very, very incremental. Like one major discovery might happen every year, but that major discovery is how to make like ray tracing like 0.1% faster on the GPU.
Yeah, or some shit.
Or something along that line.
To my eye, this looks the exact same, you know?
Yeah, no, like, to the end user, it doesn't matter. You're getting way diminishing returns, and I feel like that's the point where the game industry is going to start to shift away from those people being, like, the like, AAA thought leaders when it comes to things, because indie's been on this sort of wave for, like, a while, because you can't compete with AAA on their level. You can't compete with LeBron while you're playing basketball, but, like, if you bring a fucking baseball bat to the court and knock one of his fucking knees out, you probably could. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, but like
you got to think outside the box, and I think that's like where a lot of this, like a lot of the like sort of AAA stuff is going to go and going to lean is like towards things like Astrobot, especially now that it's one game of the year. All the like boardroom members are just gonna go, well, that worked, do it again.
That's what I was hoping for. I didn't vote Astrobot, but if Astrobot won, I think we live in the good timeline right now when it comes to video games, because that means that executives are going to see that like we don't want just like the same shit. We want new things that are innovative and different.
A soulful new IP. With interesting gameplay and mechanics that maybe Astrobot, you can attribute some of its success to the fact that it has a lot of PlayStation branding and theming in it, you know, to help you sell it.
But still.
It's pretty much other than like as of that tech demo that they released with the PS5. I think that's when Astro came out, like as a character. I think that's when that IP started existing.
I played that. That was like a whole game. That shit was good.
There was like a whole game there, and you had fun with it. And then they released a bigger, better version of that game, and people bought it, loved it, voted it Game of the Year. And I think a lot of people are going to walk away from that and go like, all right, well, where's our Astrobot? You know, what do we do? Can we retool some old IPs? Maybe. That's what a lot of companies tried at the Game Awards, and like, you know, and it worked for a lot of people. A lot of people seemed real excited about a lot of these older releases. Or do we come up with something new, like Astrobot, that's completely out of our wheelhouse? And that's mostly why I gave the vote to Astrobot. Like, I wanted Balatro to win, but like, I gave the vote to Astrobot in a few different categories. I don't think I gave it Game of the Year, but I gave it a few different categories on the basis that Sony doesn't do this anymore. Sony hasn't done this since
I want
them
to do this.
And I want them to branch out more, you know? I want them to, because a lot of Sony's older properties, people want new like Jak and Daxter, people want new Crash Bandicoot, which we're kind of getting already, but like new Spyro. They want things on that level, and we're not getting them. And we're not getting them mostly just because Sony's executives, and along with the rest of the executives, decided people just don't want that anymore. That's not what the people want. And the people have very loudly this year just gone, no, we want this on a world stage where everybody anybody who's anybody in video gaming was either at the event or watching. So, you know, it's bound to cause a tidal shift and make games in 2025, 2026, 2027, and so on look a little bit better. Like, the future's gonna look a little bit more varied and bright. I think this year was a very varied year already, with things like Helldivers and Void Crew came out this year. We played some multiplayer
Void
games
Crew was
recently.
good time.
We'll talk about those if we got time. But
Mm-hmm.
just all the stuff that's coming out recently. I think this year was kind of in terms of like big major titles, but it felt like everybody I knew had a little game that came out this year of their own that they actually like really, really enjoyed.
Yeah. There's a little sector that loved Warhammer,
like
and then, we had a lot of Sparking Zero and a lot of these things that are all things that weren't very shown at the Game Awards, but I think it was a very experimental year for video games. And it's sad that a lot of that didn't show through. But
yeah, we got a look at what like a lot of the AAA folks are really after, and what they really think is good. But that's beside the point. I think we're looking at a better tomorrow. As enjoyers of video games, I think we'll be eating good next year. I think next year is gonna be a big one for a lot of the stuff that was announced this year was at least interesting. Like a lot of the stuff at the Game Awards, aside from like the fucking like Hoyoverse stuff that took up like a quarter of the show, I was actually like, there wasn't a single announcement that they did where I was like, okay, I am not at all interested in playing this. I am 0% interested. There were some where I was like, I might maybe on a whim play it with some convincing from a friend, but like on my own, I probably wouldn't. There wasn't a single trailer that didn't at least have me a little bit intrigued as to what that game really looked like,
Yeah.
And I think that's good too. I think it'll take a year to catch on. I think 2026 is when we'll really start to see games come out that like sort of pass that bar along and usher in that new like Astrobot era,
Yeah.
But Astrobot won Game of the Year. We could talk about that for a minute before we move on.
I think I already said everything about Astrobot, where it's like I didn't play it. I thought it was a good time for the demo, and I genuinely I'm ecstatic that it's won. I should pick it up. I think I will. But like I'm ecstatic that it's won because it's
robot
like
game. Robot boy. Get like an Astrobot themed PNG, play it on stream, make it a whole thing.
Fuck, yeah, you're right. And by Astrobot themed PNG, I could just hue shift blue.
You could hue shift blue. No, you could hue shift blue and then like make all the like dark metal parts white metal parts, and then you're good.
Yeah.
Like you've done it. It's resolved. But no, I think I'm glad it's won. Game of the Year a little bit. In the context of I'm glad Shadow of the Erdtree, the Elden Ring DLC didn't win. I think that would set a dangerous precedent for the future of the Game Awards and what can and can't be nominated. And then I kind of wanted Balatro to win just because like it would be the first time like it was sort of like an underdog pull. I really liked Balatro. I think it was the only game out of the like nominees that I actually played extensively. But I really liked it, and I thought it was a good underdog pick. Like, there's, it's a single developer game. It's a single developer game, and I don't think a indie game with a singular developer has ever won Game of the Year. I'm pretty sure not. I'm pretty sure they said that like there hasn't even ever been one nominated. So that's interesting. But the fact that like an indie game like that even got nominated and got to show on the world stage like that was and got involved in like the orchestration and everything was great. I love that for the state of independent video games. Really love it. I'm kind of glad Astrobot got it. I realized as soon as they said Astrobot, even though I was hoping against Elden Ring and hoping for a Balatro win. But when Astrobot hit, I was just like, of course, this is the good ending. Like,
this is the good
absolutely
ending. Yeah,
it is. This is the best that this could have gone. Because I feel like a Balatro win would lead to the takeaway being, well, people want more card games. Make more card games.
Yeah.
Like, it would be good
not
that it
like
won, but like I don't think its impact on
game.
the industry would really be all that much.
Yeah.
Over like
absolutely
Astrobot, especially. But no, yeah, that was our Game Awards segment. Unless you got anything else you want to talk about the Game Awards.
No, not about the Game Awards. I wanted to loop back around to Kojima because I was thinking about it, and you brought up the Psycho Mantis thing.
Yeah, let's talk about Psycho Mantis and Kojima and shit.
I want games to do more Kojima shit, which is like fucking Oh yeah, Norman or whatever his name is in the game, fucking Jeffrey Strand or Sam Strand. His name is Sam.
Strand, yeah, Jeffrey Strand.
Yeah, fucking like Jeffree Star, but Norman Reedus replaced with Jeffree Star. That would suck.
Who?
You don't Jeffree Star, the guy with who does the makeup. He was associated with James Charles. He's an asshole, like all of those people. You don't remember that guy?
Oh, Jeffree Star. No, I do. I forgot his name was fucking Jeffrey, though.
Weird deep cut, yeah.
Yeah, weird deep cut. Anyway, good like fucking makeup YouTuber reference there, Jed. What are we talking about? Go ahead.
I wanted to go back to like Kojima era where it's like, hey, Sam, press the start button on your PS5 controller to bring up the map, where it's like somebody in game is telling you that shit. I love that shit.
Like that shit that Kojima does, or that a lot of studios do, that I really love, where like they lean into that. They lean into that a little bit of like, no, this is like, they drop the pretense occasionally to speak to the player as just like a, hey, this is a video game. I know it's a video game. You know it's a video game. Most of the time we don't break your immersion, but for once
this time we will.
I don't know. It adds soul to me. I like that kind of stuff. I don't mind when a game just like, when a game does the equivalent of like the puppeteer just like letting the puppets go limp and coming up from under the table and going like, hey, by the way, just so you know, like, all right, back to it.
I think like, that the golden mark kind of that I want developers to strive for a little bit more is Arsenal gear from Metal Gear Solid 2. I know you've talked about it because you watched the clip on your own away from my playthrough, and I've talked about this in the past, but you were like, this is cool as hell. When like the codec starts going like, turn off the fucking console, dude. Like it starts speaking to you, and Raiden's like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? But the Colonel starts speaking like straight to you.
Where the Colonel is just like, hey man, this is a video game. Turn the console off and then turn it back on.
Yeah.
Actually,
like,
no, I think they like basically do the equivalent of like, hey, it's 2:00 in the morning, go to bed, dude. Stop playing Metal Gear.
Yeah, pretty much. But it's like, yeah, it is in lore what they're doing because it's meant to like fuck with the internet and whatever. But like, I don't know. I think that's great.
Like in line with itself. I want to talk about a game that does that a little bit. Unless you
go for
say about Kojima.
No, I just think that taking you out of the immersion to do something is fantastic. But yeah,
I think that every genre can benefit from a little bit of like meta gaming and like fourth wall breaking in some way or another. I don't know. It's a trope I really like. A lot of people have like dedicated it to just like, oh, you want to do fucking Deadpool Marvel slop all the time? Sure, fine. We'll keep doing that. We'll keep doing like Jim Halpert winks to camera. But it's like, no, you don't have to do Jim Halpert winks to camera. You could just do fucking like anything, dude. The four walls of the screen are breakable. You can get out of it. That you're not trapped in this box when the player can interact. And when like. There's something to be said of horror too, where like characters speak beyond the game, or like, I don't know. I do find a sort of like eeriness about it, and it gets me every fucking time when a horror game does that. Like, hey, you. No, not the character you're playing. You specifically. Fuck, are we doing here? Like just like points to you and is just like, you, the player. Fuck you. Idiot.
You gonna bring up your like latest hyperfixation? Is that where we're going?
I'm gonna bring up Shipwrecked. Yeah. I didn't get to talk about it. It was big for me. But I like Shipwrecked. I like Shipwrecked a good bit.
Shipwrecked was really good.
I'm about a year late to this fucking game. And I didn't get to talk about it. We played through it with Nebula like a month ago. And I didn't get to talk about it at the time because we're doing guest month, and I didn't want to go, all right, let me slide in here and talk about my fucking hyperfixation for a minute. And I wouldn't even really call it a hyperfixation. It's just something I've had thoughts about. It's just my brain keeps wandering back over there. It's not like a persistent thought to me. It's just every now and again I'll remember some other thing where I'm just like, oh, fucking like this puzzle uses like an audio snippet that's clearly not original to the game. Wonder where that's from, and then I'll go find it, and then I'll like hunt it down and take notes on it and go like, oh yeah, this has like deeper significance to the video game, if you want to read it that way. I don't know if that's the intention, but like this definitely can be linked back into the story here. And it being like an ARG, I really like ARGs. I really like the way Shipwrecked does an ARG. Where like, if for those unaware, Shipwrecked is a game on Steam that you can get. Where like the basic baseline for it is it's an ARG sort of puzzle game I'd call it a puzzle game. I'd call it a puzzle.
Yeah.
It's more puzzle than game, really.
I'd say it's more horror than puzzle, but yeah.
No, I think I spent more time solving puzzles than I did being scared by just like a fraction. I think I was more scared. I think I was more scared than puzzle solve. Like, I think I was more scared than I was, like, I think I was experiencing the, oh, fuck emotion more than I was experiencing the, kind of emotion. Like, I think based on intensity, horror, yeah, but based on, like, time in game, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we were, like, solving puzzles for most of that.
We were, yeah.
Yeah, and we definitely would have, it definitely would have been more than a landslide if we didn't have somebody there who knew Shipwrecked back to front, basically, and was like,
oh, yeah,
if we got stuck, was able to sort of, like, push us in the right direction for, like,
and the only reason that it was,
you gotta know that, like, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish came out in 1969 to get this.
Yeah.
Which is not something they hint at all in the video game, other than mentioning, like, a date in 1969 that book also came
Fish.
out. And fish. So unless you happen to Google that exact date and the word fish, you're not figuring that out. Unless you're some, like, Dr. Seuss historian. You know?
Holy hell, that's One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish,
I bet
Blue
there's
Fish.
somebody out there. I bet there's somebody out there who genuinely was just like, oh, fuck, that's Red Fish, Blue Fish. I know that. Yeah, hell yeah. I knew, like, taking a fucking, like, literary children's media course in college would finally pay off at some point. But no, it's full of a lot of little puzzles like that, and it's so multifaceted and so bits and pieces, and it's still like an unfinished thing in my brain where, like, the gears still turn on it every now and again, and you know, I really like Shipwrecked, and I reached out to a certain I liked it so much that I reached out to the person who made it, Squeaks to Corgi, because I not because I want to have them on the show. I did kind of hint at that in the thing, because I would love to sit down with this person and pick their brain, right? Would absolutely love to. But I also just kind of wanted to let them know, like, it's very rare, right, that you have a piece of art that's made by, like, such a singular force that you're able to actively just go, I'm gonna seek that guy out and tell him how much this meant to me. Especially somebody so approachable. Because it's like, yeah, Kojima is the big face behind, like, Death Stranding and Metal Gear. You can't just go to Kojima's DMs and expect a reply. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to go up to Kojima and be like, this shit's great. I love this shit. This shit made my childhood. But he'd probably look at me in the same way that he looked at the Muppets. So, you know.
Maybe, yeah. But, like, I think that, like, you know, with indie art, especially, indie art touches me a lot of the times, and sometimes in ways I don't like, and I've tried filing reports about it. They go nowhere. The police say there's nothing they can do about this media making me tingle in places that it shouldn't. But, like,
are you jerking off to Shipwrecked? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not jerking off to Shipwrecked. What are you talking about? I'm making, like, a joke about movies and video games sexually harassing me. But no,
I know.
I thought Shipwrecked was real good, and it's a real rare opportunity that I can like something. And I like it to such a degree that I feel like a calling to, like, I should contact the person who made that and ask them questions, or, like, even do what I did and just go, hey, I really like this thing you made. Here is, like, a short little blurb of my experience with it, like, one of the more notable moments in my experience with it that I thought was really, like, it was a very impassioned moment that I really liked. I really liked the whole thing. I think you did a fantastic job. Yada yada. Thanks for listening. And, like, I just shot them a fucking DM about it with, like, a, hey, I'd also, like, I was like, oh yeah, it's very mysterious. I got a lot of questions. I would love to interview, actually. But, like, beyond that, and, like, I moved on very fast. But the more I think about it, the more I do kind of want them on the show, and might.
Oh, I'd love to have them on the show.
On Discord. I might try reaching out to them on Discord, because apparently they're much more active on Discord.
Yeah, fuck it, we'll give it a shot.
So I'm tempted. I'm tempted.
Can I talk about your passionate, quote unquote, moment you had with Shipwrecked?
I'll talk about it.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty damn funny.
So there's okay, so there's a section of the game, and I'm not gonna speak too specifically about this for anybody who's, like, vaguely interested in checking it out. I fully recommend it. It's only like $8 on Steam. And it's like a good at least 4 hours of gameplay on average, it seems. But there's a section of the game where you're being chased around by spooky, scary monster mascot costumes. To like oversimplify the situation, like, tremendously. Where you're being chased around.
Can I talk about
when they spot you,
Uh-huh.
Jed, give me 1 second.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying to fit this in, but go ahead.
But like you're being chased around, and when they spot you, they do sort of like, it's a very dark area, it's very dimly lit, it's very good atmospherically, I'd say, for what it is. But when they spot you, they give you a little jump scare, and then they chase you, and you have to like run and hide, and then wait for them to stop giving a shit about you or despawn, and then you fucking like fucking cycle repeats itself. And it was very intense, and it was very like, oh fuck, I've got to do like a whole like 30-minute fetch quest with these fuckers chasing me. And I don't do well with jump scares. I really don't do well with jump scares, but usually like jump scares are fast enough that it doesn't really bother me all that much. If you put me in a situation like that where I have been jump scared, it scared the hell out of me, but now it's over, I'm fine. You put me in that same situation where I've been jump scared, and I know I will be jump scared again. It is inevitable that I will be jump scared again before this is over. Fuck, dude. I'm like stuck in like a paralysis, right? And so there are all these little hiding places all over the map in these little barrels, and I happen to be on the one part of the map where there was not a barrel in sight, and I was spotted. And a jump scare happened, and I was cornered, and like a wild fucking animal, I screeched and just started, I don't want to do it because it's gonna like hotkey stop the recording or some shit. I just started slapping my fucking keyboard, just fucking like over and over again. And just to like in the Alt F4 position, and like I genuinely like sensory shutdown, Alt F4, Alt F4, Alt F4, and then like I took a breath, and my husband's hands were on my shoulders, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I had like nearly broken skin on my finger because the corners of my keycaps are a little bit sharp if you like dig your fucking finger into it. And the escape key was off my keyboard. And like the escape key and the F4 key were off my fucking keyboard, and I was scared I'd like chipped the keycap or something. But no, they're fine. My F4 key still sits a little funny since then, but it's just, it's not like broken. I just need to pull it up and re-put it, but it functions for now. So
I was going to ask if I could say my perspective first, because from my perspective, how this went down, Vox gets jump scared.
All right, it closed Discord too.
Scream and then disconnect noise. Like it was like a and then disconnect, and it was gone, and there was nothing left, and I was like, what the fuck happened to Vox?
Now, I wouldn't have been so impassioned in my pressing of Alt F4, dear viewer, but the thing about it was, right? The thing about it was, I hit Alt F4 while the jump scare image was on my screen, right? And then it disappeared. I think I hit Alt Tab by mistake the first time. It disappeared. Discord was the foreground window. So when I hit Alt F4, it closed Discord completely. And then the game became the main tab again and flashed the jump scare image at me again, and the audio continued. And so I'm just fucking freaking out because they just doubled down on me. They fucking double dipped my ass. And I'm absolutely losing my shit. But what a tremendously, like, almost embarrassingly scary game. Like, I hate to say it, because, like, I think you can acknowledge that that was, like, only really, like, a slight overreaction, I think, in the moment. Based on all factors, like, getting that level of spooked at that game is not unreasonable to genuinely be frightened by this video game in any capacity. But
yeah, I don't know. That is the most frightened I've ever heard you. That is the most emotional I've ever heard you, I should say. To the point where I was like, is Vox okay? I don't know.
We had to stop playing for the night at that point.
We had to stop playing for like 2 or 3 days.
We didn't have to stop for 2 or 3 days. It's just it was a scheduling nightmare. I would have been back the next night. I was happy to be back the next night. Okay, actually. And then they canceled on us and we couldn't make it. But we did get back to it, and it really wasn't that bad. I had to exposure therapy my way through it. Of just like, let me see all the jump scares. Let me just fucking get myself caught a couple times. And then it was just fuckabouts after that. Which is good, because it only really got, like, if I didn't exposure therapy with my way through that and somehow managed to get done with it, I think the next section after that, like the sewer section.
Oh, you have to get caught.
Yeah, like, you have to get caught at one point during that to, like, continue. And so, like, I think that would have been real rough on me. But I tell you, having somebody who's a little stinker, I think I'll name them. Nebula Dust Phoenix was there. And Neb is absolutely a little fucking stinker. I think we can both agree no, just go over there. It'll be okay. It'll be all right. And sometimes they meant it. Is the weird thing. It's like there were times where they were like, no, go over there. Go over there. It'll be fine. You should just see what's hanging out over there. And I'm like, what's going on over there? And I walk over there real slow, hyping myself up for just like, all right, there's going to be a jump scare or something. Let me just like brace myself. And like as I'm walking my little fucking beaver character over there, and
my beaver ass,
we get there, and there's genuinely just a button. There's genuinely just a button that I have to press to continue the video game. And then sometimes there would be scary shit around the corner, but they would say it with the same inclination. They have like whatever the opposite of a poker face is. They have a poker face, except for like they sound like they're lying no matter what. In those situations, they sound like they're intentionally being a little stinker about it, even when they're not. I don't know how they do it, but that's what they do. Say. But no, I was saying that it's embarrassing because if you look at the video game store page on Steam or like footage of it that isn't from like the latter bits, even in the latter bits, like out of context, I feel like if you divorce it from the context and you go, this guy was that scared of this shit, really? Not that it's shit. I think it's really good, but like I think as like a third party viewing it out of context, you'd go, "That's not that scary. Come on, that's really not that scary." And but like I assure you, this game does a good job of fucking like getting under your skin early, and then just maintaining that throughout. And I don't do well under those conditions. I'm a big thriller enjoyer. Michael Jackson did a really good job on that one. No, I'm a big thriller enjoyer. When it comes to like media with like thrills and scares that aren't necessarily jump scares all the time, but more just like Skinamarink type shit from earlier this year.
Yeah.
That was January this year, wasn't it? Maybe that was last year. I don't know.
That was last year.
Fuck, dude. But like stuff like that just makes your fucking skin crawl and doesn't really make an effort to like it does if you're watching it as a popcorn movie. Jesus, that was 2 years ago. If you're watching it as a popcorn movie where you're sitting down and you're like, I just want to turn my brain off and watch a horror movie and get like, oh man, spooky monster. It's not gonna be scary to you really. But like if you like lock the fuck in, turn the lights off, sit down, and really just like focus in on every detail of this film, it will like it will get under your skin and it will have you feeling unsettled for like at least the duration of the film. You know, and that's the kind of like I don't like to be scared as much as I like to be unsettled by media. I don't know. It's a very powerful emotion to me because I feel like that lingers a lot more than great heavens. Okay, I'm good. You know?
Oh, great heavens. Yeah.
But no, it's just like I don't know.
It was great.
It was pretty good.
It was a good game.
I really liked Shipwrecked quite a bit.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I can say that's unique from Vox about Shipwrecked is that I knew about all of the scares like pretty early on because I got to this point with it where Nebula was saying stuff about like, oh, you know, I can't wait until you guys find this out, and I was like, I would like to know now because I was getting kind of like antsy.
You're the worst, dude.
I am the worst.
I bet you open all your Christmas presents early, don't you?
I don't think I've opened a Christmas present on Christmas Day since I was like 15.
This guy has no patience. He has no patience for anything. Even when
I hate surprises. I
love surprises. You know. I think surprises are great. I think surprises kind of suck in the moment a little bit. Like it depends on the kind of surprise. If I'm watching a piece of media or experiencing a piece of media, I've buckled myself in to be surprised and try new things. But like, you wake me up on a Saturday morning and go, come on, we're gonna go do this all day thing. That's the kind of surprise I fucking hate. Even if it's something I would have loved to do. If you're like, come on, we're gonna go sign a check that makes you like a billionaire instantly, and then we're gonna go to like every theme park known to man, and then we're going to meet every celebrity you've ever had any thoughts about like positive ever, and then we're gonna finish off the day by eating like cheeseburgers and ice cream for like an hour straight. I would still be grumpy as shit all fucking day and miserable to be around because you didn't fucking tell me this was happening today. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is. Me, I just, like, I hate, like, big removals from routine or big removals from expectation in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I hate the build-up to surprises. That's why I don't like surprises, because it's like, I don't know. It's very much
to be surprised more than being surprised.
Yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, if somebody were to walk up to me and go like, "Oh, I got you this surprise," I would be like, "Oh, okay, cool." But like Christmas or birthdays, it's like, dude, I already know that something is going to happen. Can we get to the point now in like August, please? Thanks.
I'm gonna torture you.
I don't know.
Jed. You know that? I'm gonna torture you because I don't buy Christmas gifts for many people at this point. I buy a Christmas gift for my husband when we can afford it.
Yeah.
And I get Christmas and anniversary and birthday gifts for him as I can afford them. But I usually make him wait. I make him suffer. I'll buy him a thing and I'll keep it in a place where, like, I'll buy it and it'll get shipped and it'll come in and I'll intentionally hide it somewhere where I know, like, he's not going to be able to get to it on his own. And then he'll torture me with it for days. They're just like, can't I just know? Can you give me a hint? All right, like, what did you get me? Come on. And it's like, that's part of the fun of gift giving to me, is like leaving people in suspense a little bit of just like, well, because it's like, it's part of the gift appreciation. I think there's like a sweetness to like, oh man, you got me a gift. Like, not only did you get me a gift, I'm going to be thinking about the fact that you got me a gift. You stay on somebody's mind like that, you know? Not as like yeah, I like it because it keeps me in people's brains, as much as just like, the idea of me getting you a gift is enough to keep you, like, focused up on what the hell that gift might be for days at a time. It's nice to matter, you know? It's nice to matter.
Yeah.
It's also nice to make the people you love and the people you care about squirm a little bit in, like, a lighthearted way. It's good to make them sweat. It's good to put sweat on somebody's brow occasionally, just for the shits and giggles of it, you know?
I don't know. Like, surprises like that make me nauseous. Especially when they affect me. Yeah, I hate it. I genuinely despise it.
What do you mean? Like, how does a gift affect you? What gift could you possibly receive that would affect you so bad that you would need to be, like, nauseous in preparation of receiving it? Like, surprise,
I don't know, but that's
I've towed
the thing.
your car and put a bomb in your mailbox? What gift are you expecting?
I don't know, dude. Sometimes it's just like, this might be something that, like, I really don't need or want as well. Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but like, there are some times where it's like, oh yeah, I won't tell you. Where it's like, oh, you got me a trailer hitch. I've already got a trailer hitch, stepbrother.
You're scared that, are you calling somebody specific out about their gift right now? Oh my god.
He doesn't watch the show.
That's so
He's the 30-year-old father of 3. He doesn't watch the show.
I don't know. Maybe his wife does. We're big with moms, Jed.
No, she does not. We are big with moms, though.
We are big with moms.
However, we are also, like, very queer, I think.
Wait,
and we're very
your mom watches this show?
Blasphemous.
Do I consider
it? Yeah.
Your fucking stepbrother's wife and your mom don't interact. There's no fucking way.
My mom interacts. My mom has a comment on the first episode of Vox and Jed Fight About It.
No, not on Vox and Jed Fight About It. I meant, like, have you considered your mom watches this show and might tell your stepbrother what you've like said about him? And it's just like, no, there's zero shot. You're just being messy for no reason with zero consequence. But like, is that what makes you nauseous? Is the idea of receiving a gift that you do not want? Like, not even, like,
it's an
unwanted
incorrect
gift, like. Not even, like, unwanted in, like, the way of, like, oh, man, this is a burden that I have this now. You've white elephanted me. But, like, just, like, something I don't want, as in, like, man, I just super have no use for this. This is going to, like, sit in my garage.
Yeah.
Like, that bothers you? That bugs you?
That bugs the shit out of me. Because it's like, if you would just ask me, I would tell you, and then you could get me what I want. We're all happy.
Okay,
you don't have to think about it.
My thought about this is, do you prepare a list for your birthday?
Do I prepare a list?
I feel like it's
no, because I don't have enough people for a list to happen. No, it's generally just like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? Oh, that thing's fine. Anything's fine. If you want to pick something out for me, if it's small and inconsequential. Fine. Yeah, well, yeah, because if it's small and inconsequential, like with my sister.
Well, because I'll take anything. I don't want to sound entitled. I'll take anything. A gift's a gift to me. New pair of socks, a fucking, like...
Oh, yeah.
You know,
like that, I love those gifts.
Flat screen, a new pair of socks, a fucking pinky ring that I'll never wear. Whatever, dude. Like, run the gamut. Any gift you give me is going to get like oh, that's sweet, thank you, out of me at the very least.
Oh, of course,
love that
I
shit.
say that, but like...
And I'll try to use it as much as I can, yeah. Like, if somebody gave me a tow hook and I already had, like, a fucking, like, tow hook, I would swap the tow hooks. I would put the one that I bought in the fucking garage, and I would use the gift one. Well,
here's the difference, is that I was given a tow hitch from my neighbor the first day I got home with my truck, and he was like, yeah, I've had this one since the 70s. They're both gifts, and one is like a solid iron, like fucking tow hitch that is like
What do you get?
partially
Like a
rusted.
plastic one?
No, it's metal, but it's like stainless steel, and I was like, this is nice. I'll use this as a backup. But it like sticks out a few inches longer than I wanted it to, so I was like, I'll just stick with the one I was already given.
You've always got some kind of logistics problem, don't you?
That's the thing, is that I'm logistics
problem. You're a fucking glass cage of emotion, aren't you?
I that's what I do, is I like logistics through things, and that's why I flip flop on so many things. Like my most recent thing was my purchase of a firearm. Was like I went back and forth between what brand and what style and what caliber and all that.
Yeah, guys, you don't know how much, dear viewer, I've had to hear the phrase, I think I finally picked out the gun that I want. I genuinely, the gun he actually bought, I was like, no, you're fucking not gonna buy that. You're not gonna fucking buy it. You're a stupid piece of shit, and you're gonna, like, show me a brand new, different brand of gun tomorrow, of, like, a completely different caliber, a completely different style, different grip, different muzzle, everything. You're gonna show me a wildly different gun. Even if, and so, like, I was just, like, being a real asshole to him, because this was, like, the 7th day that I had come into the call, and he went immediately, like, oh, check out my gun. Let's talk about this gun for a half hour, and if you think it would be a good fit for me, and then I'm going to throw that all out the window, and we'll do it again tomorrow. And it's like, dude, I was genuinely starting to get fed up with this shit.
It's about logistics, dude. You gotta make sure something is right before you buy it.
No,
and that's
if you're making a major purchase
gifts.
like that, absolutely. Like, I'm not begrudging you for making a major purchase and going like, well, I want it to be the best thing that I can possibly get, because I do the same exact thing, because it's important, especially for something like a firearm. You're gonna want to get something good that'll last long and that is reliable. But beyond that, gifts. If somebody gives you a shitty gift, why should that make you nauseous? At worst,
it makes me nauseous because I have to see it, and I will have known that they have had this for weeks. And if they had asked me even once throughout this entire week, they could have had their money back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't say it to anybody, and I never do that.
It's not about the money to them. You know who gets their money back? You know who gets their money back? Or how they get their money back when they give you a gift? From that, like, thanks you give them immediately afterward, and, like, the, like, fake or otherwise smile that you give based on the gift.
That is true.
Just, like, that's their thank you. That's
I guess
what
that's
they
the other
paid for,
difficulty
really,
that I
at the
have.
end of the day, not you having this object. I mean, I guess sometimes when people are giving you utilitarian things, then, like, you know, like a fucking tow hitch, like, they probably are giving it to you because they think you might need one. But that's still on them for not checking that you didn't already have a fucking tow hitch for the brand new truck you just bought.
Is that he also bought me ratcheting straps. And I've used the shit out of this. I've used the fuck out of those ratcheting straps. So that gift, gift was like 50% not use it, and 50% holy shit, this shit's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, because utilitarian gifts like that are very, like, one way or the other, where it's like, he'll think about me every time he needs to ratchet something down to his fucking, like, the bed of his fucking truck. Or alternatively, he'll think about me when he cleans his garage in, like, a year and a half.
Yeah.
When he, like, rediscovers this, like, brand new in-the-box thing that I got him that he doesn't have any use for. And it's just like, I think that's
the other issue, is because I grew up... this is going to make me sound like I have autism, which I don't.
Okay, that's a start.
I grew up, and ever since I was a kid, I would not get visibly excited about fucking anything. I would be very, very excited. I would be very happy.
Yeah, no.
Very content, but I would just be stonewall like, thanks. And that's still how I am. So, like, with gift giving, it's like, I give the same thanks either way, and it's like, man, I don't know. I feel bad because I cannot give the same, like, oh, this is amazing, that everybody else does. So it all gets like a one-size-fits-all thanks. So I feel like the them getting what they paid back with that thank you is not enough. It has to be like, not only, yeah, thank you, but also this is something that I will, like, that will change my life in some way. I don't know, I'm weird that.
No,
but I like knickknacks. I'll take anything.
You don't
want to
ham it up too much, you know. But I got bad news, Jed. I got real rough news for you. I know you don't like surprises. We just had a whole, like, 10-minute conversation about how you don't like surprises and how they make you nauseous and how they, like, make you feel awful. I've been holding something from you this whole show. that
Okay.
I feel like will come as a horrible surprise to you. That's really just gonna make you feel awful, dude. And I hate to do it to you, but like, you know, this was already like bound to happen, and I can't stop it now. It's
Get to the fucking
surprise.
point.
It's the end of the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, I know, buddy.
I've got a timer as well.
Yeah, well, I thought you might be a little surprised. I thought you might maybe be a little
2
shocked.
hours, 4 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Well, you say that. You don't know how long it'll be in the edit. That'll be a second surprise.
Well, in the edit, that'll be the other surprise,
so,
I guess.
You know, thanks.
I'm gonna guess of 2 minutes, 2 hours,
2 minutes,
5 minutes, and 20 seconds. That's 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 20 seconds. That's my final
minute
guess.
Out of the show. I might not cut a minute out of this show. I might not even cut a second.
No,
out of
adding.
The show, honestly.
Adding,
but it is time
because you have to add the intro. But yeah.
Oh, right. That is additive.
Yeah.
But no, yeah. I hope you've all enjoyed Vox and Jed Fight About It. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Vox and Jed Fight About It. We're on number 29. We're gonna do 30 next week. 30. And 30. It's gonna be a big one. Because we're having our first guest that isn't in any way Willow affiliated, to my knowledge.
Oh yeah.
And that'll be a good time. But speaking of good times, if you want to keep the good times rolling, with Vox and Jed Fight About It, you can go check out our other episodes on Spotify or YouTube, your platform of choice, whichever one you're on right now. They're all there. And you can tune into those, or if you want new ones or want to know when the next one's coming out, they come out on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And they premiere on YouTube, so you can join in the live chat and talk with other fans of Fight About It, or alternatively, you could, you know, watch it after the fact on YouTube or Spotify, like I said. You can go down to our card page down below, which will link to us and the show and all about it. And that's
all the show's socials that are there
now. The show has socials now. You can follow us on Twitter as Fight About It Pod, or on Blue Sky, or wherever. It's all linked in that card.
It's all linked in that card.
We're gonna post clips. God, this outro has gotten so much longer. And that's about the long and short of it. Our baby boy outro is all grown up. Look at him.
Yeah,
man, it feels like just yesterday we were changing his diapers because he like shit himself because we fucked up the outro like 6 or 7 times.
That was your dog.
Yeah,
he fucked up the outro 6 or 7 times, and then you had to change his diaper. But yeah.
Well,
anyway,
yeah. Anyway, that's our show for the week, folks. We don't really have a closing bit this week, but
no.
Might I suggest, because we spent so much time talking about Statler and Waldorf, that we bring back the old
I was thinking about it.
I think
how about
returning
a baby laugh instead?
How about a baby laugh?
Reverse it. Yeah.
We could do
Actually, I don't want to do a baby laugh. I don't want to do a baby laugh. I just considered what that would do.
Let's do it. We'll do it on 3, all right? 1.
I don't know.
2.